Hello everybody, this is Remote Pilots Australia and I'm Ari, and if I've got this half right, I'll be live by now. We'll check this. Perhaps not. And there we go, we're up. Good day Brad and Mason Kaiser, I think it is.
This is Remote
Oops,
Pilots
and I better shut
Australia,
myself up.
and if I've got this half right, I'll be live by now. We'll check this. Perhaps not.
That's better, fixed it now. Wouldn't be me if I didn't get something wrong. Okay, thanks, Mason. I assume that is your name, Mason. And would it be Kaiser or Kaiser? I'm not sure about the US pronunciation. Okay. And Brad, we've got Drone Kings in the house, and it's probably not too many other people. I know that Val will probably still be streaming at this point, although she technically only does it for an hour. It usually runs overtime, which is all good. She was planning to start early. I was going to start off a few hours before this, but it turned out she wanted to start early, so I kept going. I'll probably lock in this time slot as it is. So I hope you all had a good week, or a good 4 days since the last time I streamed. It's been fairly good here. Weather hasn't been too good in southeast Queensland. It's horrible and overcast. I don't know. You should be actually able to see that somewhere in the broadcast if I'm getting it half right. That's right, up in the top corner. Oh no. Yeah, there we go. Right below my logo, you can see the outside cam. You can see it's a bit dull and gloomy out there. I did go out yesterday, got a little bit rained on, but we flew. I introduced both of my daughters to flying, and my brother as well. He's a bit older than me. He's in his 60s, and he's never Kaiser or Kaiser. Put an E or an I. I think it's E for Kaiser. Okay. And yeah, my brother's a bit older than me. He's in his mid-60s now. But he was sitting there looking awfully smug as the girls were panicking, as everybody does the first time they fly. So when they put the birds on the ground, I looked at him and said, "You're up." And Kaiser, okay. He tried to weasel out of it, but I wasn't letting him have it. And one of my daughters was filming it all with her digital SLR, and I've got to get it off. She's at school today, but I'll get it off the card and perhaps put it up online for everyone to have a look at later. And hello, Mark. How are you, my friend? If you'd like to join me on the panel, that would be perfectly fine. I'll just make sure that I've got your email address here. Okay. And I do. So if you'd like to join me, I'll shoot you a link and come and make my happy life miserable like I did for you. Okay, not a problem. Probably it's Sunday night your time, I think, so it would be a hopefully anyway a live meeting online. Right, so everything's a bit slow here today, mainly because I'm running so many packages, I suppose. Okay. It doesn't have a connection. There we go. Just excuse me while I get that off. Okay, Mark, that's gone. Should be with you in a moment, with any luck. I've got to bring my chat up. Too many windows. Mason's got to be a proper droner. He's got several Phantoms, so he doesn't play around with his toys. Yeah, so as I was saying, I think I got as far as saying my one of my daughters captured all the flying on the. I didn't bother putting a card in the drones. I was too busy concentrating on the girls, trying to keep the drones in one piece, rather than getting any film from me within the drone. But one of my daughters filmed it with a digital SLR. So when she gets home from school today, I'll get it off her SD card.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mark, I can. How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks. Oh, I got to take my little privacy lens cap off my little camera here. Here we go. There we go.
Is that a Logitech?
Yeah. I use Skype quite a bit, and no matter what I do with Skype, it always has a tendency of answering when I least expect it. So I find myself ducking for cover when I'm in compromising position. So I make sure I have that little cap down when I'm done with it.
I settle with. I use this simple expedient. I have cover cloths for the computer, the microphone, the camera. I always put it on and mute the microphone. Maybe I'm paranoid, but I never trust anybody not to be accessing it remotely.
Oh, no doubt.
It could be worse. We could end up like Brent Nunley. That the incident I referenced in that limerick was real. 2 or 3 nights ago, he was sitting there in the panel and thought he'd change into his pajamas, forgot that he could be seen in the little minimal.
Whoopsie.
Oh dear. And his wife, she mentioned the fact to him, let's say.
Yeah. That's well, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah, so. I thought that was funny. It was very, very funny. My last live stream I was running late for, and I left the mic hot. I was melting down in the background, and everyone got to hear that. Fortunately, I didn't let my language get colourful.
That's good. Well, I didn't get a chance to say hi to Mason and Drone Kings while you're doing that. So hello, folks. I'm glad you're here, and I appreciate you having me on, Ari. I got a few minutes to kill before I have a Google Hangouts meeting with CNY Drones. They like to pull this stuff on Sunday nights. God bless them.
Well, if they didn't, you'd be hard pressed to find you when you're working.
Well, that's the point, is to be hard pressed to find me. I like that.
Yeah, that I hadn't thought of that. That's the problem with being popular. I've been there in the past.
And I can't stand cell phones for that reason. I wish I could throw mine out the window.
Yes, I have tried to avoid them as much as possible for years. And in the last 6 months, I've reached the position I've got 2, private one and one for the business. Pain, to put it bluntly.
Yeah. I hope everybody's doing well tonight.
Well, I'm well, and the family are all good. I hope the same for you.
Mason likes my shirt. Don't be too impressed, Mason. It was a gift. I really don't follow sports, so I hate to burst that little bubble. I am not opposed to them, but I'm not a big fan of watching professional or collegiate sports. Just not my thing. I like playing them, but I'm just not a big sports fanatic. So I apologize.
I'm in the same boat, Mark. I used to play sport as a young fellow. I played rugby league, which is sort of like gridiron for men, and couldn't resist with that. But I had an injury as a teenager, so that was the end of that. Hello, Thomas O'Sullivan. Welcome to the show again. I'll make the offer, but I pretty well know the answer. Would you like to join us on the panel? And,
I was actually accused in one of my old schools I worked at for being a communist when I told them I didn't watch the Super Bowl.
Oh my God! Right under the bed.
Yeah. They're like, so are you watching the game tonight? I'm like, what game? They're like, the Super Bowl. I'm like, I don't watch that. They're like, what are you, a communist or something? I'm like, okay.
We don't have a national equivalent to the Super Bowl, but the big one here in Australia for rugby league is called the State of Origin. It's coming up soon because the 2 biggest states in the country for rugby are Queensland and New South Wales, and they have a competition each year where, regardless of what club in the National League they're playing for, each state calls up players that first played in that state. And all the other states of Australia join in and hate Queensland, which is where I am. And that's a big thing. And that's about the only 3 games of football. They have 3 rounds, and that's about the only 3 I watch all year round.
Drone King says Super Bowl's getting big because you get Monday off afterwards. We don't even get Monday off after it. That's interesting. Hold on, let me turn something off here.
AFL, that's not football.
got some music playing in the background. Don't need you getting a copyright strike.
Yeah, that's it. And now you're about to see another one of the great Australian rivalries raise its ugly head. Brad has brought up the AFL, the Australian Football League, or
Oh
Australian
boy,
rules,
Australian rules. Yes, yes, yes.
aerial ping pong. My attitude, it's actually a very remote derivative of Gaelic football. And
Mhm.
if they're going to play it, I want to see them play it to those rules. You know, it's no fields. They play sometimes over 20 or 30 miles of countryside. That's my way of going.
Okay. Oh, so okay. So basically, the Super Bowl's on your time Monday, so they use an excuse to take a day off. Lord. Well, maybe there's a reason why I should support it then. Again, I have nothing against it. It's just I just don't fancy it. I'll catch a live game from time to time. I do enjoy watching a hockey game. We have a farm team here and there in our local city, and I'll go watch a couple games. But I enjoy the live venue sometimes, but it's not a big draw for me.
Oh no, I stopped going to live venues about 20 years ago. I had a very embarrassing situation. I didn't get in trouble, but it was most embarrassing. AFL, going back to that, it for many decades and decades, it was pretty much a preserve of the southern states. And then about 20 years ago, we got our first team here in Queensland, and they got their home ground down at Carrara at the coast. And I had a friend who was up from Victoria living here. He was a big fan, and he wanted me to go to a match with him. And I went, and we were sitting on the hill in the outfield. And down at the fence, there was a few people. There was an elderly couple and a bunch of young guys. And they had too much beer on board, and they weren't happy drunks. They were very aggravated and full of bad language. And the elderly gentleman with his wife turned around and quite politely asked him would they keep the language down because of his wife. And one of them, of course, had to take issue with it. And he started. And I'm sitting there because I was still working in projects at that point. So I'm sitting there thinking, don't do anything, Ari. Don't buy into this. It's not your problem. And the drunk guy was in the old fellows right up in his face, as they do, yelling and shouting. And the woman, his wife, she got in between them and he hit her.
Lord.
The
Oh
drunk guy,
no.
he smashed her in the
No.
face.
No.
And I from there on in, it's a bit of a blur for me. But I apparently, according to my wife's tale, I ran over one of our friends in my haste to get down there, and I grabbed this fellow. And as I did, about 3 or 4 of his friends got up from the hill and started to come down to sort me out. By the time I got there, I had him by the hair, and I was pounding his face into the upright. And that's about the time when I came to myself, and they've got the big electronic billboard there. You know, it's got and I'm featured on it right there in the middle. All the cameras are on me,
Wonderful.
it's being streamed online to the television. So yeah, I didn't go back for another go after that. They came and had a word with me, but the elderly gentleman had blood all over his face, and his wife spoke up in my defence. So they threw all the drunks out, and I was allowed to stay.
Oh well, there you go. At least that got sorted. It wasn't a case where they accused you of being the aggressor. You know, so that's
I was a bit
a shame. Yeah,
sorry, mate, go ahead.
No, I'm good.
I was just going to say I was a bit excitable as a young guy. I've calmed down a lot now, but I still try not to do that. And hello, Sonia, Nature's Beauty. Good to see you with us, dear. Don't start me on limericks today. And Nacho Rolling, I've just given you a wrench, sir, because I have met you before, and I'll think of your name in a minute you watch. That's terrible, Mark. I do that all the time with names. I've had a trouble all my life with them.
How do you forget a name like Nacho Rolling? I don't know if I have Nacho.
Well, it's Dennis. That's what it is.
Dennis. Well, I'm getting Nacho now. Nacho, I got you.
And Mel's come online with the live stream. Well, sorry, Mel. And thank you very much, sir. Dennis has just subscribed to me. I'm pretty sure I got you last week, but I will check.
There you go, Nacho. I got you, buddy.
Oh, that's all right, Sonia. I'm not complaining. The others have gotten a fair laugh out of it. And as I said to you when I was firing them off, I'll just delete the ones that were a little bit too risque.
Well, you could have just put a disclaimer at the front of your video.
Because I mentioned, yes, I have subscribed to you, Dennis. I mentioned Emma in there, and I'm not saying that I'm a prude. I can swear and so forth when it happens, but I don't like to make it my default model.
What does Nacho say? He goes, I guess I will be deleted.
No, Dennis, you're all right. That's right. Dennis, I didn't quite catch what, but he had to go and see a patient the last time he was on. So now I remember it. And yeah, I haven't looked at that, Brad. I saw that I have an email. I didn't. When I got back from flying with the girls yesterday, I was quite tired and I didn't get on the internet again until briefly late in the evening, but I haven't checked my emails. I know I've got one from you to check. This morning when I was logging on or setting up for the stream, I realized that I didn't have enough time to check all the emails. And that's when I realized that this is starting to become almost like a job.
It is. It can be. Having a couple of weeks off was kind of nice.
I could tell that you were, I didn't ask any questions, but I could tell you were a little bit jaded.
Yeah, just a little. But no, it's getting better. So I'm getting back into it. I got a few projects in the work. Oddly enough, I think I mentioned it to you last night. I actually have some Mavic 2 Zoom video that I'm editing and vlogging. So I've kind of like, I didn't put aside the FPV, but I'm trying to get back to my roots, so to speak, and got some nice aerial footage of my hometown and stuff. So I've enjoyed that that resurgence. And like people think, they say once you go to FPV, you give up all the other drones. I don't think that's true. I did have a good time doing what I was doing yesterday. So I'd like to think I'm going to keep that up.
I think it's personality dependent, not age dependent. People like to think that FPV is a young man's game, but there's a lot of guys out there on the wrong side of 40 who are doing it. I just think it's which way you are geared personally. I prefer camera drones, but I'd like to play FPV.
Oh, it's a hoot, no doubt, and I do like tinkering. So I actually have a print job going right now for a part that I'm building for one of my FPV drones. So you know, it all blurs together nicely for me. So
Yeah, the wrong side of 40 is 41 and above, mate. I'm on the wrong side of 50 and heading towards 60.
Well, I just passed the wrong side of 50 myself. So
You can tell we're a bunch of grey beards, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah, Mason, thank you very much. I appreciate the support and the encouragement. I'm having a blast with it. So I like to think that if I can do it, just about anybody else can do it. If they put their mind to it, of course.
I'm probably going to be ordering mine, I would say, next month. I'm just I'm putting away funds bit by bit. I've got enough now for a cheap quad, and probably I probably won't use my controller that I've got here, the DX8. I'll probably buy one in, and I'm just the one thing I'm not going to budget for the way of speaking about it would be the goggles. I'll probably buy a decent set of goggles, and that's what I'm putting the money towards now. I'll get the full setup next month.
Well, if I may, I'll offer. I mean, I did the full blown Fat Sharks Cadillac versions, but I don't know how much you want to spend. But if I hadn't done that, there's a set of box goggles that they say are phenomenal, and they're only about $150, and they're called Vipers, and they're really nice. They're really nice, and you can take the monitor off, set up as a ground station if you want to. But people love them for box goggles, and I'm actually thinking about getting them because I wear contacts, and with Fat Sharks, if I lose a contact or contact tears, I can't wear the Fat Sharks. So if I have the Vipers, I can go to those if I need to. So I may eventually actually get a set of those once I get done building drones.
Yep.
So
I eventually. Sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but the Vipers they say are very good. So.
Oh, nature's beauty. Look, Sonia, the difference is that ladies, they age like fine wine. Men age like milk.
They curdle quickly, yes. Lord.
Thanks for the tip on those goggles. I've made a note of them. I'll look them up.
Yeah.
Look, aircraft-wise, I keep flip-flopping, but from the point of view of something that's got a lot of community support where I can find feedback and groups devoted to it, and because I'm going to buy pre-built, probably Mobulus HD is the top of the list for me.
I hear good things about that too.
I'm trying to think the name of I've got it written down, the name of the controller. It's the one that everybody uses. Gone. And they're the goggles. Look, Australian, the whole setup is probably going to cost me between $600 and $700. and that's budgeting to spend as much on the goggles as on the aircraft and the controller together.
Yeah,
and that should do me.
Do you know what controller you're getting?
I do. I've got it written down. It's the one that everybody uses. I just can't think of the name for the moment.
Tyrannus QX7.
Tyrannus QS7. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a dandy of a. I love it. I really like it. So,
well, I've got a really nice Spectrum DX8i sitting here, which I had intended to use, but it's what I used when I was instructing for fixed wing, and here in Queensland the dominant mode for fixed wing is mode 1. And I didn't fancy pulling it apart and reconfiguring it for mode 2.
Uh-oh, well, that's a Hanghouse call.
I thought it would be.
Yeah, no, that I got till 8:30. They're calling too early, so they can wait. It's 8:20. It's 8:20. They want me to meet on a Sunday night. If it's 8:30, it's 8:30. It's just notifying me. They sent me the link.
I hear you.
So
that's it. I decided I wasn't going to pull apart my DX8. I'm not flying fixed wing at the moment, but I might. And I spent a lot of time setting that controller up, so I'm just going to get a Tyrannus. They're actually quite reasonably priced in Australia.
What is the exchange rate these days between US and Australian?
We're hovering anywhere between 69 and 71 cents, so average it out at about 70 cents.
Okay,
but
to an American. Okay.
The price difference is not that simple. We always get stuck with a down under tax. I was using an example to somebody. Claude told me what a Mavic Air Flymore combo cost in the United States, and when I did the conversion, it should have cost about $1,300 here, but they want $1,599. So it's just the down under tax. But the Tyrannus, the 7, the QS7, is about $190 Australian.
Yeah, it sounds about right with that exchange rate. Yeah, so you're not that far off from the Canadian exchange rate.
No, that's right. It's just Commonwealth discrimination. That's what it
is. That's funny.
That's not too bad. And the Modular 7s, about 230 for the HD version, which I haven't gone into it in depth, but I'm assuming that really the only basic difference is the camera.
Yeah. I hear wonderful things about that. I really do. I have I bought an Emax Tiny Hawk, which is it was about $100 American, and it does all the acro stuff, but it's much smaller and only has the basic FPV camera on it. But if I wanted to, or if I'd saved up a little bit more at the time, I might have gone with the Mobula myself. But that's still possible in the future. But I am thinking about my next build actually might be what they call a Cinewhoop, which essentially is a 3-inch quad with cowlings around the props, so you can fly them indoors relatively well in stability mode, and you have a high definition camera on it. And Louis P. Floyd flies one a lot to capture a lot of the events, and he flies in and around crowds and stuff. And it's a nice little bird, but it's a little heavier than probably the Mobula is, because it is like a 2.5 or 3-inch version of a quad. It isn't quite a whoop. So I think I want to build one of those next. It should be fun.
Well, everyone's got to have an interest. And look, I do understand the fun in building. It's just like anything. Even drones are getting a bit that way for me, Mark, since I started the business. There's no quicker way to ruin your passion than make it your profession. Yeah. And I spent too long doing electronics. Even when I moved out of the field, it still always kept raising its ugly head in my life in one way or another.
Right.
It's just not it. But the Mobula, I've looked at a lot of reviews. There's quite a few guys who seem to be having good success with it, both indoors and out, so that's good. It's capable of your basic 3D maneuvers. I don't think I'd fly it in competition, but you don't have to just fly it around like a camera drone. It's got the cowls around the guards around the props. It's very hardy. The only thing that's a little bit disappointing, I've seen varying results as to the video feed, but that could come down, I suppose, to the quality of the goggles and the antennas that you're using. Right.
And I don't know much about it as far as the high definition. Is it just one camera and you're looking through that camera with the goggles, or is it an FPV camera with a high definition camera mounted to it as well?
I believe it's just the one.
Okay. Then if it's high definition, you should be getting a pretty good feed on it. And so it shouldn't go as fast as your 5-inch quad, so you shouldn't need that full-blown what do they call that? Analog. So you should get pretty good signal, I would think, to get high quality.
Yep. We've got Claude in the house. He's got beer goggles.
Well,
I thought that Claude's wife had beer goggles, which explained why she was Claude's wife. And Jim, hello mate, how are you? Hang on, I'll get a link on the way to you guys.
yeah, and you know what? It's getting close, so I'm probably gonna have to
Yep. You
to
take
call
care.
it. I got 5 minutes to see what my print's doing, and then dial in so they don't get mad if I don't show up at 8:30 on this meeting. Thank God I don't have to travel out to Utica for these meetings. I should at least be thankful I don't have to drive an hour out there. So thank God for Google Hangouts.
Thank you very much for dropping in and keeping me company for the time.
Oh,
that
no
you
problem. No, well, hopefully somebody else come in and keep you company. Other than that, man, take care. Have a good night, and
had.
take
You're
care,
welcome
everybody in
anytime, mate.
chat.
Take care.
Take care.
Okay, guys, I'm just finding you on my email. I haven't got it sorted out properly yet, so I've got to. Oh dear. All right, just do it the. I know I've got you guys there. I just got to find you. There we go. That's one. Oh, Jim. There we go. Okay, link should be on its way to you, gentlemen, now. And into the maze. Good day, sir. Should know your name, of course, but that's typical me. I don't remember anybody's name. I'm useless. Some days, on a good day, I can remember my own. He's got a wonky bike. Okay. I just thought it was his boom that was shot. Never mind. It's terrible. I am the most terrible person whose names. I go into anywhere, any official place, and they say name, and I go, happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me, happy birthday. Ari. Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah, I did, Dennis. I did.
Who are you?
Hello, Claude. How are you, my friend?
Okay. Shut up, Sonia. You British little blonde something.
Did you break off your mic?
She said I got a wonky mic. But I noticed when the air conditioning come on in the house, it was picking that up.
You're low, but I can hear you.
Is it loud?
No, you. I have to strain to hear you, but I can. Yeah, not him again, Thomas. I know. I have to strain to hear you, but I can hear you.
Okay, let me go. Oh, where's it? Oh, I can't do the control panel. You can turn me up or down.
No, I can't. I'm not using the same studio as you, and I just haven't got that ability for some reason.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can do something. I don't know how to.
I can mute you, but that's about all.
Oh, okay.
I'm just checking to see if I've got an email address for you, Brent. I think I do.
James Boyd is here.
Sorry?
Claude. Harry.
Can you hear me today?
I can hear you now.
Oh, is that his new mic?
Hello out there. Shall I sing to you?
Hang on, where's that mute button? Hello, Jim. How are you? I'm just looking for an email address for Brent. Annoy Claude for a moment.
Where's
Hello.
Brad?
Look at here. That's just wrong, ain't it?
Only you, Claude. Ari, do you know Drone Kings in Darwin, Brad?
Not personally, but I know him quite well.
Yeah, he's good.
I'm responsible for some of his current content. I found the drone for him that he owns.
Oh, the P3?
No, the Air. I met him on, I think it was Phantom Forums, and he's up in Darwin, and he was talking to me about getting drones. And actually, it's not that that I found it for him. I just went and looked on the secondhand listings and said, "Oh, here's one near you for considerably less than you." And I sent him the link, and next thing I knew, a couple of days later, he said, "I went and bought that."
That's someone telling Claude to get off. I saw what you did with the mic.
Why is Lloyd calling me?
They're already going to use it against him.
Well, I know that Mel popped up with the stream. They're probably asking me why I have to stream at the same time as them. Joking.
Oh,
Okay,
I didn't see that yet, Ari.
I got the notification before, but I know it's not a scheduled one. I've just fired you the link there, Brent, if you want to join us. Just quickly going back. Dennis, it's easy to remember. It was easy for me to remember you. I don't remember names, but I remember situations and circumstances. And I remember you leaving the other day saying that you had a patient waiting for you. And I thought, oh, he's in the medical profession. God help us.
Yeah, he's the flight medic and I'm the ground paramedic.
Uh-huh. I was a combat paramedic.
Why is it called that?
No.
What does it say? Showing off his skills. Ari, are you showing off your skills?
I didn't know that I had any skills.
Nacho rolling. Showing off his skills. That must have been when Claude was swallowing the mic.
Oh, dear.
Yep. That's what he said.
NAF. No one would know what NAF means, Sonia, except me, perhaps.
The rolling on the floor laughing?
Ah, he's an ultrasound tech. What we would call here a sonographer.
Well, that's the art of it, isn't it? Sonography?
Well, yeah, over here they just call them sonographers. They use the word technician for lower life forms here. We don't have tire fitters, we have tire technicians. Oh, that's a polite way of putting it, Sonia. Knackered.
Where did Claude go?
I don't know.
So anyway, Ari, I don't know if I'm using an RG5 or 6 cat cable. So I was trying to upload a video. It was a 3-minute video, and it was taking 40 minutes to upload to YouTube. And then, it takes its processing time.
Yeah.
So I took the laptop in the house and plugged the cat cable in to go direct to the modem so I could try and get my 10 megabytes a second upload speed. No deal. It came out the same thing. Now, have you heard of the two different ways to check your speed? There's speedtest.net, and then there's Google's internet speed test.
Yep. Look, all of them are independent. SpeedNet is okay. I haven't used it in some years, but they used to have various nodes. So I would make sure that I chose the testing node that was closest to me, generally on the biggest backbone. But even then, there's still some discrepancy. What I generally do is I use a small and cheap software package called DU Meter, and you install it on the PC involved, and it measures your upload and download in real time.
It's called DU Meter.
DU Meter, and you can set it up to. That's why when I heard of DU Recorder, I went, wow. You can set it up to monitor your upload and your download in whatever metric you like: kilobytes, kilobits, megabytes, megabits. You can set it to send you emails when you reach certain amounts of data up and down in case you've got a download limit or this sort of thing. But I install it on all my servers here. I don't have it on my desktop, but I was thinking this morning that I should.
I've got to get it because I've been checking through those two different systems, and I'm not getting the 10 megabytes a second or megabytes a second upload speed. I'll be
Okay.
lucky if I see 5.
What sort of a modem router do you use?
No, I've got a Motorola 6183 or something like that. Normally, the way they work it here in the U.S. is when you buy internet service, they give you a router and a modem, and you're renting it.
Well,
Well,
here's
I
similar.
gave that back to them, and I bought my own. I bought the
Well, I always
surfboard.
do. Yep. I do the same thing. Out here, you generally get a modem router with your package.
Right.
Depending on your package, you're either renting it or you're buying it over the period of your initial contract. They lock you in here for at least a year usually. But I immediately throw that out and buy my own because they always give you the cheapest one that they can source. And I run a fairly extensive home network. I have a really big routing table, and port forwarding table, and I need a better one than they give. So are you connecting through fiber, through HFC, i.e. coaxial cable, or through telephone line?
It's coaxial.
Okay. You should probably have a look inside the modem and see if it has connection status. Look at your upstream and your downstream attenuation and the signal to noise ratio, the SNR. That'll give you some idea as to the health or the quality of the cable. Because on coax,
I had to buy, when I bought the router, it was the modem rather, it was the best one at the time, right? And it's of course gigabit, but I had to give them the MAC address and they had to adjust it because they throttle it down to what you're paying for.
Yep. Yes.
Because you also get the business plan for $400.
Well, coax is usually pretty stable, but it does handle water badly. And if you have inclement weather and there's a bad seal along the line, that can vastly affect. Hello, Dunya, how are you? I don't think I have an email address for you. If you'd like to join us on the panel, you're welcome. Just throw me a link in the chat and I'll get an email off to you. And Claude's back with us. Hello, mate.
Well, hello there. I'm just listening. I have fiber optic.
You're a show off.
So that's better than mine off the bat. But yeah, they definitely had to throttle mine down per the MAC numbers and all that crap.
Well, theoretically, if you're the only guy on, you can approach a gigabit out of HFC if it's in good condition. Over here, that's the way our NBN, which I haven't yet connected to, is going to work. Originally, when the previous governments floated it, they were going to do fiber to the home, FTTH. And then when this government came in, they announced that was going to be too expensive, and they're doing FTTN, fiber to the node. So effectively, they're running fiber to the pillar box in the end of your community. And then 25 years ago, they ran out HFC, the cable for ATV. And that's now no longer used, and everyone connects to the pillar box via their HFC, which is good, but it's a shared resource. So if everybody in your street is downloading like crazy, you don't get really great bandwidth.
So it's still shared?
Yes, that last leg from the fiber to each house uses the common share of the cable, which, look, it's okay, but to connect to the NBN here, there's generally 3 tiers. The lowest tier is 20 megabits down and 5 up. Then the next one is 80 down and 45 up, which is where I will go. And then the next one up it's theoretically 100, but it's actually about 85. And they're the 3 tiers that they allow us. But even if you're on the 85 and everybody in your street is going hammer and tongs, you might only get 10 up and 10 down.
So you're more like, you're a time of day type of person. If the kids are doing the gaming and all that nonsense, you're getting screwed, right?
Yeah, it can be. Look, I can't complain about that too much. And I can't think of who it was who said it. Might have been, I'm going back through the chat. One of the guys in chat, his son had tried to get him playing, it was Mason Kaiser. His son tried to get him playing Black Ops, but he thinks he's too old at 65. I hate to tell you this, Mason. I was fairly big in the gaming community for quite a number of years, about 15 years. I'm not going to mention my gamer name because it's known in the franchises I played. And I ran Oceanic Gamers Network, which was the biggest games house in the Southern Hemisphere at the time. And I played. I was in the Australian National Championship team for 5 years in a row. And I retired from competition play when I was 50. And I'm 55 now, and I still occasionally get a call saying, we've lost one of our players tonight, can you sub? And the last time I subbed when I was about 53. And nowadays I just give them a blanket no. I'm getting a little slower on the reflexes, although that's not always a problem. The young guys are quick, but they don't think. And I'll generally get quite a few kills before they hunt me down. And then, of course, when they start to rage, I tell them, by the way, does it make you feel better to know you've just been owned by a 50-year-old? They love that.
They're not strategic thinkers.
Exactly. Yep. Circle and flank, live in ignominy, or up the front, up the middle, and die in glory.
So, Claude, I'm taking it that's that new microphone you were waiting on.
Yeah, it's rubbish. It needs to go into the bin.
What brand is it, Claude?
Hell, I don't know. Chinese.
Okay. Have you? I take it you've gone into your sound card settings.
Ari, you don't remember that that big
It's right
bike?
here. It's right here. You can see it, the box.
Okay. Yeah, Toho. I don't even know that one.
I think he said he paid $17 for it shipped.
Yeah, so it's really expensive.
It plugs into your sound card, or is it a USB one, Claude?
It plugs right in the computer. I didn't have to do anything.
USB or sound card?
I don't know. Plug in. Sound
The
card.
3.5 millimeter or the
Is
USB?
Sound card.
Okay. Did you go into your sound settings and jack up the microphone recording volume?
No.
Okay. You're using Windows 10, are you not?
Right.
Right click on the little speaker symbol in the taskbar and choose Open Sound Settings.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Sound.
Now, on the left-hand side of on the right-hand side, you might need to scroll down a bit, but you're looking under, I'm looking at my own, under sound, I think it's Manage Sound Devices.
Oh. If anybody hadn't figured out, I'm not feeling it.
No, don't
Yeah.
go into that one. That's not the one I want. I've
Yeah.
got to find it.
Because it says it's got the volumes turned half, not even all the way up. So
That's your speaker volume. It's separate to your
Right.
microphone volume.
right.
Open sound settings. I've just got to find it. It's been a while since I set mine.
It says test your microphone.
No, that's not what you want. Sound control panel. It's under related settings.
Right.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay. Click on sound control panel.
Yep.
Now a little window will open called sound, and it's got tabs for playback, recording, sounds, and communication.
Okay.
Choose
Playback.
recording is the one you want.
Recording. Okay.
Now it shows all of your sound devices there. If
Says
you are
says microphone, which it's reading. Then it says stereo mix. Realtek.
okay, well, you generally, whichever one you're now using should be ticked.
Yeah.
Which one is ticked?
Realtek high definition audio.
That's your sound card probably. Well, what you do is click on it once and highlight it, and then the little tab at the bottom that says properties. Click on that.
Okay. All right.
And then choose the tab that says levels.
Levels. Okay.
Now the microphone volume should be there. What's it set to?
Microsoft Boost. It says right now it says it's at 20.0 dB.
There's a little slider to adjust it, is there?
Right.
How far up is it?
Right now the microphone is set at 96 to 100.
Okay, well that's about all that you've got. Just hit cancel. If it's set, it's nearly all the way to the right then.
Right.
Okay, hit cancel.
All right.
Now, how many other recording devices do you have there that the little green level is bouncing up and down when you talk?
Just the one.
That's the only
So-
one?
Yep.
Okay, what other microphones are listed there?
It says stereo mix is all it says.
So you've just got the
Well,
two.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
well, it sounds like that might be all you have then.
All right.
That's a shame.
Yeah, if you guys hadn't figured out, I'm not feeling good. That's why I keep getting up. So don't think I'm ignoring the chat. So every now and then I get this way. So, and it's better I go in the bathroom and try to literally throw up than it is be out here. So
I'm not going to tell him that, Thomas. What have you eaten something that doesn't agree with you, Claude? Or
I do this every now and then. I really do. And like I say, I'm off again. Be back.
okay, mate.
Well, that doesn't sound good.
No, it doesn't. He shouldn't be online when he's like that. He should be laying down somewhere. Be nice, Thomas. Give him a break today. I know it's never give a sucker an even break, they say, but maybe this once. Oh dear. So what has the last few days had in store for you, Jim?
Actually, we had rain and wind again today. I was lucky I got out yesterday. Got a full day in of shooting. It was actually nice to be able to do that. We're getting to the point of the year where about 3 o'clock every day you can expect the thunderstorms to roll in. They're short-lived, but it's a 3 o'clock event whenever it gets above 80s here.
I don't think it's either of those, Dennis. I think that the microphone is just poor quality. He doesn't have any hum on the audio, which would make me suspect an earthing problem, you know, the shielding or something like that. It's a brand new microphone, but it's no name and dirt cheap, and it just doesn't seem to have much amplitude in it. Sorry, I'm just answering the chat. Well, it's good that you got at least a day's shooting out. It's very grey here. You can probably see out through the little the outside outdoor cam under the Remote Pilots Australia logo that it's fairly dull outside. And I did take the girls out and my brother out yesterday, and I taught all three of them to fly. It was
Did you
pretty.
see that notification you just got?
Yes.
Look at the spelling on that.
I've actually minimized it now. Hang on. I can bring it up.
It says
Oh, no,
DJ
I can't.
Osmo ACATION, whatever that word is.
Action supposed to be. Oh, see, last time Thomas turns up in the US, they have a hurricane. No wonder they don't let you in now.
We got lucky last year. We didn't have any. Tomas says it was 95 there.
It was in 95. He was there for Bertha.
No, in 2004, we had 3 back to back. I went a month without power.
We had another one. We had a cyclone form north of us a few days ago, and the official cyclone season is well and truly over. So it's going to be a bad year, or it's been a bad year. It's going to be worse. Mind you, not as bad as it is in Tornado Alley at the moment. They're getting a real hammering.
And people say there's no climate change. Yeah, okay.
There is. To deny it is silliness. But I don't believe anybody's what anybody says without investigating it for myself. And that means I don't believe the climate change naysayers, and I don't believe the climate change alarmist exclusively either. There's enough evidence in the geological record and in ice cores to show that there's been more carbon dioxide than this in our atmosphere in the past. My position on it is simply this, that there is no denying that human activity has accelerated it and made it worse, but we were on an upward cycle anyway. Really, how much of it we added to, I don't think anybody really knows the truth.
Yeah, it's a question of how long will it take to reverse it? Because remember, we banned fluorocarbons and hairspray back in the 70s around here.
That has been successful. a couple of years ago, about 5 years ago, satellite images showed that the hole in the ozone layer has closed. So that much was at least successful. Okay, Claude, if you want to pack it in and go and lay down, just go, mate.
No, I'm fine now, believe it or not. I just have to do that a few times, and it's just like that. I'm over it. So I'm all good now. So
Okay,
it
mate.
it just hits me every now and then. I don't know what the heck it is, but I can all of a sudden I feel like crappy. Then my doctor one time said, "You're suffering from anorexia because you usually do it after you eat."
I
And I
believe
said,
it.
yeah. I said, no, 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 no. I said, I love to eat. And he says, well, maybe it's just, it could be something like, my son has allergies like to milk and lactose and all that. And maybe I got a touch of that. So, and I did drink some chocolate milk today. So, I normally don't drink milk a lot like that. I did. So.
You look at chat, Claude. Thomas just said something nice to you. You might want to screenshot that.
Holy crap. Let me, I'm going to snip that and save it.
Yeah. Brad, no one has said anything in the last 25 minutes that you missed. Brad's having some issues. He says his computer is about to become a drone.
He's going to throw it.
Yeah, that's it. The flight doesn't hurt it, mate. It's the landing that causes the problems.
Will it stick the landing?
There. I just snipped that comment and I'm going to save it I'm going to post it on my Facebook.
Well, all you do at any given time, Claude, is if you press the print screen button, it captures the entire screen. Then you open up Paint and just hold down Control and hit V, and it pastes what you've captured into your Paint, and then you just save it as a JPEG file. How do you think I blackmailed, get all those pictures of Lloyd?
I got L-Sinate poisoning.
I have times like that, Claude, where I throw up uncontrollably, but fortunately my daughter doesn't cook too often.
Yeah, I feel better. I'm all better now. I got over it just like that. It's about 3 times, then I'm done.
Brad reckons the landing would probably add about $500 worth of improvements to the PC. Aren't you glad it's not yours? It works.
Yeah, and I was complaining about mine.
I have to build myself another one. When I stopped gaming, I did away with my last desktop, and I'm operating now off the notebook that I got. And look, it's a good notebook, but it's a little bit restrictive if I'm going to be live streaming and all that sort of business.
Did you guys do what Interactive DNA said to do there, Claude?
What was that?
With your OBS, did you test any of that stuff out?
No, Thursday. He's gonna come on there. We're gonna do a live thing. He's gonna set up my OBS for me Thursday, like he did with Ari. So that's gonna happen Thursday. Maybe Ari can be on there too, because I don't know how to do OBS and tie it into Hangouts. So
Brad says that his computer is so old it doesn't have a calculator, it has an abacus. Apparently it was used for flight control at Kitty Hawk with the Wright brothers. Yeah.
Who was it? Yeah, Nacho. He was on my my live stream. He drives around and he's some kind of tech. I forgot what the heck he does.
He's a sonographer,
ultrasound tech. Yeah, because he come on my live stream just a little bit ago. So yeah, he drives a motorcycle and goes from place to place. So
did you get him on the panel?
I don't know. You could ask him.
Dennis, if you're not at work and you want to come on the panel, just let me know and I'll shoot you a link.
I think you asked him before, didn't you, Ari?
I can't remember. Look, that was 10 minutes ago. You don't expect me to remember that, do you?
Well, hell, he's over 50 years old. Come on. The poor guy, I do remember how to turn on his computer to do this, let alone add people to it.
You mean it's supposed to be turned on?
Oh, that's my problem. That's why
Oh.
Holy crap! I'm sitting on the toilet talking to you guys. No.
Yeah, that's it. So I took the girls out yesterday, Claude, and taught them to fly.
Oh, that was cool. So you saw the video of Emma, right?
I'm sorry, I
I
saw. Yeah, I came in with. I've seen her her video because
Yeah.
she gave us the link during the talk the other day.
Right. I look at that and I get it. I you know I don't know if you feel the same way. I'm grinning ear to ear because everybody that it was involved in that got her that video, and I'm looking at this say, you know what? I did it, and a bunch of other people, and you see in the video she's smiling and going thumbs up and all that. So she loves it.
You can tell she is utterly thrilled, and good on her. And I am like you. It makes me really smile because you do a lot of things in life and you never get to see the result. And when you see her flying that thing in the video and the grin on her face, you feel that you've accomplished something.
Exactly, and
Get on to another generation. Absolutely.
yeah, and her GoFundMe is at $500 right now. It jumped up. It's at 500. I think actually what I'm trying to do, there's a way to increase it because if I was to pull the money, I checked into it. It's like 460 some dollars. So I'm going to do it so that she'll hopefully get the full $500. So if I got to adjust it a little bit, I'm going to.
What is there? A 30% levy on it?
30 about 30 some cents per donation, roughly.
I thought it was 30 cents per donor.
Yeah.
So if 20 people donate, they take 20 times 30 cents. But remember, they take 5 or 10% commission from the people who donate.
Exactly. So let's see
But
here.
look, she's got her drone, and you've well exceeded what you thought you were going to get towards. Originally, it was for the kayak.
Right. Because I'm at the page right now, and I'm going to check. I'm going to check and see because I'd like to get this sent to her as soon as possible so she can get some other things she wants to get. Like a landing pad, maybe a set of legs. I'll get them to come on here one more time.
And some batteries.
And a couple extra batteries because you only got 2. At least get 4. At least so she can get 4.
She had 3. If she got to fly more, she should have 3, shouldn't she?
They can only come with 2. I asked her.
Dennis has just asked what's the backstory. Well, and why do we do it? Claude's got to take the majority of the credit, Dennis. Emma, she's on YouTube. I don't know whether you've seen her or if you've probably heard of her, but you can look her up as Narrowboat Girl. Her and her mother live on a narrowboat. They travel on the canal system in Great Britain. And she's got a really successful YouTube page about approaching 4,000 subscribers and a lot of videos. I don't know exactly how many, but a lot anyway. And she's become quite a little identity. She's appeared on the television, the local television in Britain, and a lot of us know her. Claude got to know her first, and because Claude, he was following another narrowboater, and he got onto her that way. Started chatting with Emma and her mum, and without going too personally into their detail, they're not wealthy. They're not. I have a feeling that they're just of average means, and they sold their house to live on a narrowboat. It's just her and her mum. Emma's suffers from dyslexia. Her mother homeschools her. And part of her education is done through vlogging and through going to historic sites, this sort of thing, and putting them all up on her YouTube channel. And of course, Claude, being into drones, thought it would be a good idea to get her a Spark so she could add that sort of thing to her vlogs. And the community just jumped on, and we managed to raise, I think it was about 900, wasn't it, Claude?
$950.
And that bought her that. And as for the why, because we wanted to.
And now we did a fundraiser. I just put a link in there to get her because she initially wanted to get some kind of kayak and stuff. So I said, well, I'll do another GoFundMe, and it's already at $500. So And that was within. It would jump from $165 to $500 in less than 2 hours.
It was great. And I didn't mention Emma is going on to 12. She's not yet 12. And she really, some weeks she'll bang out 3 or more videos on there. She's really keen. She's been going for quite a while now. And so, and as Claude and I were just saying, she's already put her first footage up of her flying it the first time, and she's doing very well, as kids always do, quicker than us old farts. So yeah, we're all going to get the benefit of seeing extra stuff. And she does very interesting videos, and the drone's just going to allow her to add more content.
And I will post the link to that video. It's not on her page. It's the only way you see it is through these links. So I will post a link there. You can click on that link, Nacho, then that way you can actually see her. And this is her first time ever flying that drone. So.
And just jumping sideways slightly, but on the topic of drones, a number of people have been. I haven't followed it up, so I don't know how true it is. I don't know any more than you. But a number of people are saying that the Spark 2 will be with us on July 2.
Yep, it's going to have its own, like a smart controller with it. The screen will be in the controller, so you don't need a phone.
Well,
So
I hadn't.
yeah, so yeah, it's going to have the screen in the controller, just like the DJI Smart controller.
I can't see.
Yeah, so it's probably
doing that and keeping the price point.
It's not. It's going to go above the Air. The Air is going to be the cheap one. I honestly think what they're going to do, it's going to be the Air, not quite to the Mavic, the big Mavic. So the Air is going to become the Spark.
That's a strange choice from my point of view, because to me, the only difference between the Air and the Mavic 2 is OcuSync and 10 minutes of battery capacity. Other than that, the Air is every bit as good as the 2. And
Right.
to me, there's not much of a gap there to slot another model in. I'd heard that the Spark 2 was going to have a 4K camera, 3-axis gimbal, 2x optical zoom, enhanced Wi-Fi, not OcuSync, a couple of other things which I'm forgetting. And they were trying to put it in at close to the same price point. I hadn't heard about the new controller.
Coast to Coast Drones mentioned it.
I don't think AI wants to put up with the phone problems anymore, because their apps are so intensive. If they can get away from different people's telephones, they will.
Well, Jim, both the Crystal Sky and the Smart Controller are not winning any awards. But there are people who love them, but they're not people like you and I or Claude. They're not commercial operators. You can't run most of the software. If all you're going to run is Go 4, then you're okay most of the time. It suffers from the usual Android blues. So I won't be buying one with that on their own.
I'd rather take the $700. I think they're up to $700 for that controller. Take the $700 and put it into a nice Apple or a nice tablet in a mount for my regular controller and deal with it.
You can get an iPad Mini 4 for $400.
You'd be crazy to buy an iPad Mini 4.
I use one.
Yes, but you've already got one. I'm talking about for a new purchaser.
Yeah.
If you've already got one, that's okay. But even when I bought my Apple device, which is going on not quite a year ago now, so I didn't own any Apple devices. There was no need for me to stick with one. And I was initially thinking of the Mini 4. And I went and did all my research. And if you have a look on fandom forums and all of those forums, there is a small but significant minority of people with them who are complaining about overheating, glitching, framing. Now, I do admit that these are people who are not just using it to fly with. They use it for internet, and they've got a million apps put on there. But the Mini 4 is struggling. It's got the old A8 processor. That's what you found in an iPhone 6S had the A8. That shows
Ari, it will overheat in the Florida sun just
Yep.
using it as a straight app.
Yeah.
The Mini
So
4 will overheat.
I elected at the time, I was going to buy that, and then I read those reviews. And I thought, oh, because the reason I was getting it was I was getting the occasional glitch out under Android, which everybody does, and I couldn't afford it. It was okay when I was flying for a hobby, but not when you were doing runs for customers. So I thought, well, I don't want to get an Apple device that's going to have the same problem. So I bought the iPad 2018, which had the the A11 Bionic in it, and that's been faultless, but it's just big and bulky. And then they announced well, people call it the Mini 5. It's the correct name is the Mini 2019. And I'm just waiting for it to hit the shelves here. I've got one on back order.
But it's the iPad Mini 5 or 2009?
Yep, iPad Mini 2019. It's almost identical to the Mini 4, same form factor. If all your current cases and so forth will fit it, but it runs the A12 Bionic processor. It also supports the Apple Pencil and other things like that, which would be very handy for plotting out light emissions and all the waypoints and so forth.
To be honest with you, the only thing I was using it for, besides the Go 4 app, was the GS Pro 2.0.
Yep. If you're only using it to fly with, but Mel's using one, but that's all he uses it is to fly.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not standing in the blazing sun, you can get by with them. But for most recreational pilots, they're not just they don't buy a dedicated device. They use the same one that they use for their everyday applications, and that's where they start to run into problems.
But I have, when I was using the Inspire last summer, I remember the iPad Mini 4 with just the Inspire running, on airplane mode and all that. When I was out, that sucker overheated.
You can actually buy a cooler for them. They clip onto the back, and they've got two, I think they're 3-inch fans that blow onto the back of the unit.
I've seen that. That's some, but I also, before I had bought that, I bought the NVIDIA K1, and if you keep that on Android 5.1 and do not upgrade the operating system, you'll be fine. The minute you upgrade the operating system, you're going to get half a green screen. Your video transmission is going to be terrible.
The NVIDIAs still bring a premium on most of the DJI forums. They're considered to be the ultimate Android tablet. They've also got a better than average screen on them as far as brightness goes.
I wasn't really impressed with the brightness, but at least it never gave me any problems. And it's from NVIDIA, so it's got a decent GPU to handle it.
Yep. I'm an Android guy, but
it's $200. It's half the price of a iPad.
They're very cheap. Yeah. But Android just has its issues, basically because of the way the operating system model is handled. Google, this is something I've never been able to understand. Google will make a reference edition of the operating system every time they update it, but nobody uses the reference version, not even Google themselves on their Pixel phones and so forth. They take their own reference edition and they put their own skin on it, and that's where the troubles start. Because software developers, they are supplied with a copy of the reference Google, the reference Android. They write all of their apps to work on reference Android and they ship it out. And everyone puts their own skin on it. And that adds all the unreliabilities to it. That's where Apple have the advantage. Everyone hates them because they keep a stranglehold on their operating system in the App Store, but it's to our benefit when it comes to stability.
Well, see, now that's what we were talking about, and that's where my statement came from, that DJI doesn't want to have to put up with the variety of phones we're all using. And like this Descendants and Crystal Sky, they're on Android 5.1, and they work just fine.
Even they drive. I don't own one, so this is just secondhand information. But even the people who own Crystal Skies, and I haven't asked anyone who's got a smart control yet, but even the people with the Crystal Skies tell me that they have the occasional glitch out.
I haven't had any problem with it whatsoever.
And of course, they've only recently opened up the ability to use Lychee and other apps. For the first year or so of their existence, they were okay for Go 4, but nothing else. And that's a lot of money just to run Go 4.
I've got the only other app that I added onto it was the Air Data that automatically uploads the flight records.
Welcome to the House Night Train. He doesn't own Apple now. He was talking to his daughter about getting one because of drones. Mate, for droning, I've stayed away from Apple for 15, 20 years, but when it came to drones, that was it. It's a bit like the Borg. Resistance was futile.
Right. And that's the only Apple item I own.
Yep. What do you fly on, Claude?
What's that? Controller?
Yeah, what mobile device?
I just basically use my phone all the time. I'm lazy. But I do have a Apple, so.
But you're not always flying DJI either.
No, I'm Unique have their own viewers, so
Hey, how do you like that big 920?
I love it. It's definitely not a DJI. I can tell you right now.
I know.
Okay.
I haven't seen one. I've seen the 520, but I haven't seen the 920s up close and personal.
Right. Let's see here. Total raised after fees. Anyway, guys, let's see here. Next withdrawal. Let's see here. I think I done it. I got to figure this out, but I just arranged to transfer that money into my checking account. So for Emma.
So much for letting it go till the middle of next week, eh?
I don't know. Didn't he have problems the last time?
Yeah, he's doing it differently this time.
Man, that's loud.
That was my phone confirming. Let's see here. Yeah, well, let's see here. Oh, verification code. Duh. Let's see here. Account ending, daily withdrawal, automatic withdrawal. Well, after the fees, it's $481.28 that was raised. So let's see here. So I think it's withdrawal now. So let's see here. See withdrawal history. Yep. Amount 428 arriving by May 27th. So by after the 27th, I have to wait two or 3 days, and I can take PayPal and send her the money. So the account is officially closed. So
I sent you a link, Mike. And Dennis, if you would like to join us, I just need an email address for you. If you want to pop it up in chat, I can copy and paste it, and then you can delete it from chat.
Yeah.
there, I'm back with you. I decided just to go ahead and take care of it that way and get it over and done with. So.
Well, like you said, mate, she'll be able to get quite a few little things that she needs: SD cards, a battery or two. No end of things that she can get. And don't forget a trip to McDonald's. She's got to go to McDonald's.
Oh yeah, a couple trips. She likes her burgers.
All right, you see that, Ari?
I got it.
There's a link right there.
Okay, Dennis, got it. Thank you.
All right, you can remove it if you want. You know, we don't want that staying on the live chat when it's uploaded.
Yeah, when it's uploaded, that's right.
Okay.
I forgot that. Actually, you reminded me of that, Ari, last time we did it.
Look, I would like to think that everybody in the droning community is worthy of trust. But, I think most of you know what happened to me after the first live stream. And obviously,
Yeah,
sorry, but
I opened a credit card up with your name, by the way.
that's all good, mate. Well, would you buy me a couple of aircraft on it while you're at it?
How many you want?
Okay, Dennis, I've sent that to you.
Hey, you know what, Ari? I meant to ask you before we get too far away from it. What did you start your daughter's flying on?
Okay, I took 3 aircraft with me. I took the Spark and a number of batteries, and I took the Air and a number of batteries, and I took my Mavic 2 Zoom. And I want to get them some experience on all of them, but I didn't know how far I would get because of available time. And I started them off on the Spark. I put out some markers on the ground. One of my daughters has filmed it with her. I didn't film with the bird because
Well, it was a training. You didn't need.
that's it. But one of the daughters filmed it with a digital SLR. I put out some markers on the ground and I just started them off nose out doing boxes, side slipping forward and backwards. Then I got them to move nose in and circulate, turning 90 degrees at each corner, heading anti-clockwise. And I turned them around and got them to go clockwise, and then got them to fly out over the paddock a bit. And I got them both to do that. And then I obviously I pre-briefed them on how to operate the basic controller. And they did pretty well. They did very well, actually. One of the daughters is a panicker. She stresses.
Yep.
But Luna, Spud, the one who is always in the streams here, she's not so bothered. She was very good. So I broke out the air and let them fly that. And my brother as well, I gave him a fly, which he tried to slink away. He was sitting there in the chair laughing at the girls panicking. And I said, you can have a go now. What, me? No. Yes, you, get up here. And they had a fly on the air. And by that time, it was getting to about 3:30, 3:45 in the afternoon. We'd had a couple of sprinkles of light rain, so I decided not to fly the Mavic 2. So that'll be the next time I take them out, I'll get them to fly the Mavic 2.
I had tried to start my 11-year-old granddaughter on the Phantom 4, but she was too intimidated. She felt like she didn't want to break it on Papa, you know what I mean? Yep. So I'm like, don't worry about it, just go. No, so I bought her the Tello EDU and the Tello Scratch, and she'll just fly that. Like when one of the props came off, she was like, "Oh God, Papa, I'm so sorry. I'm like, forget it. That's what this is for, you know."
That's what I tell my kids. Don't worry about it. I've got insurance. But it is very much a mindset thing. They wouldn't fly the big ones, although Spud always jokes with Claude's encouragement that she's going to steal the Inspire.
Why would you say I was encouraging her? I would never do that.
Oh, you weren't encouraging her. You were instructing her to steal my Inspire.
As far as I'm concerned, this whole thing is about them anyway. You know, as soon as she turns 16, I'll be pretty in pink as far as I'm concerned.
All good, Dennis, when you've got time, mate. Well, I only started the company to try and give the kids employment, because I don't know about the United States, but out here, it's not as bad as it has been. We're not in the middle of a global recession or anything, but jobs are certainly not as common on the ground as they were when we were kids. Remember what that was like? When you didn't have to go to a pre-interview, a second interview, and a final interview. You went along, you had an interview, and if you liked you got the job on the spot. Do you remember those days?
Yeah. Now they want you to send everything in by computer. You don't even get to see a human.
No, that's right. It's hard. And the work conditions are so strict. Now, if I can give the kids a career where in another 5 years I can retire, I'll still do the mission planning and so forth, the paperwork, but they can take over the majority of the work, then it's got to be a win-win. And I got the girls flying the Spark, and of course, it's all about perception. To them, it's tiny. They think that it's a toy. They think that it's no different to a Tello. But you and I both know, and this is what I told them when we got home, if you can fly a Spark, you can fly any DJI product. They're all the same. The app is virtually the same, and they have, as a matter of fact, the bigger ones are easier because they have rear and sideways obstacle avoidance, which is the Spark doesn't have.
And not just that, the Tello can't fight the wind, so she's learning how to play with the wind.
That's right. In one way, my brother usually comes with me. He's my ground crew, and he hasn't ever flown until yesterday. He doesn't want to. I knew that I could get him to fly yesterday because he wouldn't want to look silly in front of the girls.
Right.
And he always stresses. If the wind gets up to 5 or 10 miles an hour, it's pretty windy. And I tell him, no, don't worry about it. Now, we had a bit of wind going yesterday, about gusting 15, maybe gusting 20 kilometers an hour. And I'm telling him, as usual, look, don't worry about it. The bird will correct for that. And of course, after his flight, I said to him, now, there you go. Do you see what I mean when I tell you that the wind is a non-issue until it hits 35 kilometers an hour? And at that time, we go home. And he grudgingly said, yeah, I understand now.
Yeah, those those drones fly good. I mean, I could fly them. I could fly a DJI drone. I can't fly the unique stuff. So
DJIs, I won't say they're foolproof, but they're certainly idiot resistant.
What do you mean? You have two unique systems there, Claude.
yep, yep. And I tell you what, the DJI flies a whole lot easier.
That's a bit counterintuitive. If he's got two, it can't be bloody unique, can it?
No, it's not unique. It's very sneaky.
Do they have those ST16 controllers, right?
SD10 and an SD16.
Yeah.
I have a Typhoon Q500, and it has the SD10, and I have the H, which uses the 16.
Now that H is a big boy. What kind of camera are you using on that?
The one that come with it, what is it? It's a square looking that gives you.
I think it was equivalent to a GH4 or a GH5.
Yeah, something like that. It's a good camera. It's a real good camera. So, but I don't like flying them in a lot of wind. I'll take the DJI stuff out before them. So,
really,
yep. I mean, I've flown them. I'm not afraid to fly them, but I don't like flying them in a lot. I had a situation where I almost dropped the one because of the wind. So I tend to get the DJI stuff. It seems, well, Ari will tell you, and you, and if anybody knows it flies, the wind doesn't seem to affect them as much. You know, I'm feeling better, Sonia.
They just handle the wind better. I think it's the implementation of the flight controller and the GPS. Look, there are a lot, and I'll stress this again, although I own only DJI aircraft currently, that's because they're the only company that have dealerships local to me in my state. I don't have any brand. I'm sorry, Jim?
Don't they have dual inertial measurement units on them?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They do have redundant.
They could take that wind easy.
Yeah, I don't have any brand loyalty, and there are a lot of DJI haters out there, tall poppy syndrome as we call it. When somebody else does it better and I can buy their product here, I'll buy that. But until then, for my purposes, DJI are the best show in town.
If you look at some of my videos, when you're looking at the horizon, the skyline, one who doesn't know might say, oh, your camera's out of alignment or something like that. No, it's because I was flying in 35-mile-an-hour winds, and the drone was like that. And when you stop and it settles, then the horizon settles with it.
Yes, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Lawrence, I think it was. Novice Quads was saying that he won't fly above about 10 miles an hour. And I just said, well, I will on a customer's job, but that's assuming that the pay scale is commensurate to the risk. The most I've ever flown in is about 45-mile-an-hour winds because I didn't want to drive out that far again. And it nearly ended in tears because when I had to bring the drone home, it only came back at walking pace into the wind. But I did it, and I'm not worried. I'm not frightened of doing it. But they want to pay me enough to make it worth my while if I lose an aircraft.
I had a Mavic 2 Pro out in 32-mile-an-hour winds, and I had to use sport mode to get it back to me. It wouldn't come back.
That's what I had to do. I had to use sport mode to get the aircraft home, and even in sport mode, it was just walking pace.
Yeah.
They're very well implemented, the DJI stuff. I'm just waiting for somebody to start the Huawei problem. You know, start claiming that the Chinese military are spying through our DJI drones.
Yeah. Well, you know, I heard today. You remember eHang?
Yeah.
Made that. They made a investment today. Somebody partnered with them, and they're going to be doing drone deliveries in China now. I thought because they went into bankruptcy at one point.
Yes. Well, some companies do manage to rise from the ash. Look at Apple. People forget that 15 years ago, Apple were on life support.
Hey, before I forget, this is yesterday. I had a neighbor come up to me because I was flying down the street. I always fly them at home before I go out 20 miles, 30 miles away and go fly. And it was a good thing the other day because remember we all had to do the Mavic 2 updates?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm flying this thing up and down the street, and then I brought it down and all that, and some guy drives by in this truck. And I've had the police here before and all that, and they just say, okay, and drive off. But this guy told me he was going to shoot it down out of the sky. That's the first time I ever got threatened like that.
And what did you say to him?
Okay, sorry, have a nice day.
I'm afraid I'm not that calm. I just say, I haven't had that yet, but my response would be, you open fire and you better hope that I'm not armed because I will fire back.
This was my third incident. The other two were neighbors who came, and so one of them must have called the cops, but even, the police were over, and I explained to them, yada, yada, national airspace, here's my 107, nothing you can do, forget about it. And I wasn't doing anything. You're just flying up and down the street.
Well, I suspect that it's a bit like you. Over here, that the police don't have any jurisdiction currently. When the new laws come in July, they'll be able to ask to see your accreditation. And I believe they will be able to give you direction. But currently, as far as what you would call national airspace, they can't touch you. But that won't stop them from charging you with disturbing the peace or failing to obey a lawful direction or something like this. You know what the police are like. If they can't get you on the primary angle that they're approaching you, they've got a whole box full of statutes that they can trot out. So
They could even get you for a peeping Tom or something like that.
Yeah, I try not to antagonize them. And pretty well the local police, I've had them come up a couple of times. What I do now is when I fly out on a job, I ring the local police station every time. And I said, they answer. And I said, look, my name is, and I'm a qualified, certified by CASA remote pilot. Here's my aviation reference number. I'm just giving you a courtesy call to let you know I'm going to be flying X here for the next X hours. So if you get any calls from concerned public, that's what's happening. And they always go, thank you for calling. And that's it. I've never had a problem since I started doing that. And if you saw my live stream the other morning where I turned around and showed everybody the block where I live, I wouldn't point the house out. You can see that I'm in the middle of about a street that's got, say, 10 houses either way. And I've got a huge bush area out the back of me. So when I got my remote pilot's license, I door knocked every house up and down the street and told them, took my documentation with them, told them that I just qualified as a remote pilot, was getting a little business going, and that I would be taking off and landing for the rest of forever from my backyard out over the bush, and not to panic if they heard it. And if they needed somebody to have a look at their roof or anything after a storm, because we're in a storm alley, to give me a call. And my neighbours have been great. As a matter of fact, we've had new people move in there. And when I've gone up there to introduce myself, they've all gone, oh, no, we already knew, the other neighbours had told us.
That's something I probably should get around to doing because it does get annoying. This is the third time now. But the last two were...
Mate. See you later, Claude. You go and lay down, mate.
Oh, Claude's feeling crappy?
Yeah, he's been ill since he arrived. So that's good. I did send Mike a link, Night Train. But
he said he was eating dinner.
No, that was Dennis, I thought. Could be wrong. I sent Dennis a link too. Oh, dear. Yeah, no, it's Dennis who's eating dinner.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, look, my neighbours are very, very good, very understanding. They know that I can't spy on them and all this sort of thing. So that's good.
Yeah, I don't understand why people think that they're so important that I would spy on them with, with the kind of money you're putting in the air. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing you're doing is interesting enough, buddy.
Well, let me see if I can find something. There was a clip put up on Facebook today. I'm a member of a Facebook group that is managed by one of the local training providers. And they put up a link this morning. This is from our major news network in Australia. I'll just see if I can find it, Jim.
Okay. Take your time. I guess, I don't know. Has anybody else in the chat had any problems with neighbors or anything like that? It's certainly not the first time that I've been, hi, Mike Kelly, not the first time that I've flown from the house. So I was surprised by this neighbor. Actually, he's a guy, he owns airboats. So you can imagine what they sound like when he starts them up to test them before he goes out to the river.
Well, maybe it's my background. I might be getting a bit chunky here while I pull up this. There we go.
If I wanted to spy, I would just go on Google Maps. Yeah, they're a little outdated, but true.
Okay, guys. Now, I wouldn't advise you to play this if you're on. Oh, hello, Mike Kelly. I wouldn't advise you to play this if in view of a mic. You might get a copyright strike. There's a link to that is a news story that ran on our major news network here last night. That gives you an idea of how people look at it.
Is it
Mike Kelly, I've just given you a wrench, sir.
that good or bad, Ari?
Well, it's the usual BS. You know, but that's the mindset that the media has got a lot to answer for. They whip up public sentiment, and not just the public, also politicians. Let's face it, we all know the fact that most of the politicians who make the rules that end up governing us are not drone pilots or pilots of any kind. And I was watching, it's very much the same here as in the US. Now, I'm trying to think of it, might have been 51 drones. He was showing the latest, the FAA refinancing bill that went through that included all the new drone laws for you guys in the US.
Yeah.
And it was 1,200 odd pages, roughly the size of War and Peace. And he pointed out quite rightly that when he read War and Peace, it took him over 2 months to read it. Now, your federal politicians, they were given the financing bill on the Sunday, and it was voted into law on the Wednesday, 4 days later. So how many of them had read it all?
None of them. It was all done by lobbying.
Yep. Well, it's the same here. Our politicians pass these laws. That doesn't mean that they know as much. They wouldn't know as much as I do. But it
Right.
never stops them from passing a law to control it.
That's exactly right. They don't read it. Yeah, I'm watching that one. And, you know, it's funny because the Mavic 2 and the rest of them, they all have remote ID on them anyway.
Well, that's part of that video. You'll see them bragging about how they have these new abilities to monitor drone pilots and yada, yada, yada. And they're demonstrating DJI spectrum scope. And
Yeah.
I have tried before. I'm not going to bother, but I have contacted news outlets and offered myself. I've said, this is who I am. This is my qualification. I own this business. I would like right of reply. Would you like to send the news crew out, or I can come into the station and I'll give you an interview and put to you our position as commercial pilots and the realities, not what you're putting out. Would you like to be accurate rather than be propagating propaganda? And I never hear a thing back from them. They're not interested in the truth. They're only interested in ratings.
That's not right. That's not going to make any headlines for them. It's not
Mike Kelly. Sorry, mate. Mike Kelly. And hello, Gary. I'm not sure if I've got your email. I was just going to say, Mike Kelly, if you'd like to join us on the panel, I don't have an email for you. If you'd like to pop one in chat, I'll send you out a link. And Gary, I can have a look and see if I've got yours if you'd like to join us.
I love that name, Brent Aerials by Gary.
I may have Gary's email address.
But he can know who follows him and who doesn't if they're just calling him Brent.
Brent, yeah. Yeah, well, there's Brent Nunley and Brent Aerials, and a lot of people get confused.
All right. It says, oh, yeah, there you are. I see you.
No, it's late there. Don't worry, Gary. I understand, mate. Hey, hello, Dennis. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just trying to figure I'm new at this, so I don't know what I'm doing.
You're working well.
Do I have audio?
Yeah, you're good. I've got video, good audio. And another one for the grey beard set.
The only thing I have
Sir.
control over is in that settings knob up there. I can decide which camera I'm using.
And welcome back from the sky. I've just given you a moderator's wrench. Yes, out here effectively in Australia, when they talk about drones, everybody means DJI. I'm not saying that we don't have any Autel or any other brands flying here, but it's not really any. I think there is an Autel dealership in Australia, but they're in the southern states. Most of the people, the only dealership they have an access to is DJI. Roger calls you Brian sometimes. Roger has so many people who goes to his channel. I could not keep track. I admit that I've got a cheat sheet here, which is getting so large now that I'm probably going to have to make a spreadsheet to keep track of who's what.
With larger print. If I had one of these live streams, I'd be lost on everybody's name.
So, all right, Dennis, so you're
Yeah.
on the panel. Give us some background. Tell us about yourself, what you fly, and what you do for fun with drones.
Well, my name is Dennis, and I'm a sonographer, which we spoke about a little bit ago. And I travel the country on my motorcycle working for a temp agency. So I travel and I do assignments for 13 weeks at a time. And I travel with my drone, which is a Mavic Pro, the old Mavic Pro. And I call me sentimental, but I love it. I have no reason right now to upgrade. I mean, I know the new one's great. I do know that. I get it. But there's nothing wrong with my Mavic Pro. It's so clean and nice and good. I just can't bring myself to getting rid of it.
I don't think you should. If anybody was owning a Mavic Pro said to me, should I upgrade to the Mavic 2? My response would be, only if you really dreadfully want it. What do you want? You know, the Mavic Pro has still got 25 minutes round figures of endurance, a 4K camera, as good as the one in the Zoom. Maybe it doesn't have the Zoom lens, but the same sensor. It's got everything except upwards. I don't think it has upwards, but it's got all the other obstacle avoidance. Just as good GPS. Why would you get rid of them?
I see no reason to get rid of it. A lot of times I have different cameras strapped to it, 360 cameras, and I'm doing that kind of stuff. I've rarely used the actual onboard camera. So I don't see the point. I love it. Gonna keep it.
That sounds like an interesting gig. You going from city to city, or are you in a general? Yeah, you gotta be, right?
Let's say in the last year, I've been to multiple cities in California, Columbus, Ohio, which I don't recommend, especially for flying. I'm in Vancouver, Washington now, Kingman, Arizona,
Oh, I've been to
Watsonville, California. So yeah, I get around. I try to get small town stuff. I'm not a fan of cities.
I hear. Now hang on, I think it was Mike Night Train. I did send you a link, by the way, Mike. He's thinking of a Pro 2 for your first DJI. If it's your first one, yes, certainly. It's just a waste of money to get out of a Mavic Pro for a Mavic 2. If I worried about having the latest and greatest, I would be forever selling up one and buying the next one. I upgrade when I need to do something that my current drone won't do or can't do, and a new one will. Until then, I just keep running the old one. The Mavic 2 Pro is a great drone. If you don't want to post-process, you just want to capture footage and put it straight up online, then it's your go-to drone. It's got beautiful, highly saturated images, lovely, vibrant colors. Yeah, you'll hear the horror stories about how it pixel bins or line skips or whatever. Maybe it does, but it still looks like it's a great picture to me. If you were flying commercially, then maybe the Mavic 2 Zoom might make more sense. But no, that's your choice to make. So Dennis, you ride your motorcycle. I'm going to ask what type of motorcycle it is.
Have him unmute himself, please. Muted the crackling noise.
Yeah, Dennis, yeah, the crackling was coming through, and Jim has muted you. Yeah, you've got it. Good. We can't unmute you. We can't unmute you.
I think I'm unmuted now. I'm sorry. I dug out my microphone to when I started the chat. And I had all this stuff laid on the desk. I have a BMW 1200 GS Adventure.
Yep, they're not the Boxer. They're the inline four, aren't they?
No, it's a Boxer.
It's a Boxer. I like riding them, but I have this irrational fear of the cylinder head sticking out the side of catching them on something.
Hey, they get hot.
That doesn't
I
worry
love
me.
the bike.
I know
that's why the crackling.
I know that they're not that much wider than any conventional inline motorcycle, but I just always feel like I've ridden a few, and I always worry that I'm going to catch them on something. I don't know why. Night Train, if you're only going to buy one, okay. My rationale is this, and I'm in a slightly different situation from you. You said you're going to go for your Part 107. It depends on what you are going to do with your 107. If you're going to do mostly image capture, if you want to do work for media agencies or photography, then the Pro is for you. If you are going to do inspections, structure inspections, antennas, anything like that, then more so the Zoom. And if you're going to do weddings and events, more the Zoom, because it allows you to stand off at a greater distance, especially if you're recording at 1080. You get 4 times Zoom, and you can bring the picture a lot closer to you. If you're flying at night, then the Pro has a better dynamic range, as Mikey tells everybody. Neither of them are good enough for mapping. You can map, but you've got to stop. You've got to come to a halt for every photograph, which vastly reduces the area that you can cover. Now, I haven't bought a Pro because I've got the Phantom 4 Professional. I've got 2 of them now, and they have the 20 megapixel camera with the alleged 1-inch sensor. So why would I buy a Mavic 2 Pro when I've got those? I've got a Zoom. But, so once again, it depends on what you are going to do. Real estate, etc. Well, if you're just going to go straight from the bird to media, to social media, or you want to just take it straight off the SD card and give it to the real estate, then probably the Pro. If you want to get zoom shots and dolly zoom and effects like that, and you are prepared to do some post-processing on your computer to get the color gamuts where you want it, then buy Zoom. Well, what I'm saying to people, Mike, is currently I would not buy a Phantom 4 Professional secondhand because they're bringing as much, if not more, as they were new, because people are panicking. They're realizing that commercial operators are realizing there's no alternative there. Give it a little while, and that's going to drop back down, and the secondhand price of Phantom 4s is going to become reasonable. So I would say once it reaches that price point, buy a secondhand Phantom 4 Professional and a brand new Mavic 2 Zoom, and you've got the best of both worlds covered.
Yeah, before you buy or a third drone, build the business. He's saying absolutely.
Well,
know what
sorry.
you're using it for. I'm just saying, know what you're going to use it for.
Yeah, well, my business is certainly not turning a profit. If I make any money over expenditure before 2013, I will be pleased. But as you can all see, I over the last year I have built up pretty much everything that I need for every niche of the market that I am covering. And I don't do real estate, and I don't do events. I don't want to fly around people. I keep my insurance premiums lower, and besides which, I don't know about in the US, but flying for real estates here is not, it's a bad return. They want to pay you nothing, and they eat into your time very, very heavily. They're always on at you for one more shot, one more angle, one more effect. And by the time you finished with them, you're making a loss, and they won't pay enough to make it worth your while.
It's the same here. They want you to do real estate for anywhere from $25 to $40.
Well, Mike, if you're going to map
photography in general, you treat it like that.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Photography in general, you get treated like that when you're doing any kind of commercial work that's not, I'm not talking like weddings. Well, I mean, weddings too, but I mean, the photography in general these days, they don't value your service. Like financially, they don't think, oh, you push the button. They don't really see the gear, the pricing, the money that goes into it, whether it's in the air or on the ground. As a photographer, they just don't.
So obviously you do photography as well as sonography.
I've had a photo business in the past. I did it for 12 years, and I'm done with it. It made, like you said before, I love photography, and it made me hate photography. I literally put a camera down for 5 years, and finally picked it up when I went to Alaska a couple of years ago on another job, temp assignment, and I'm kind of getting back into it now. The drone definitely changed my perspective. It's like, oh, aerial photography. I think I like this.
Yes, it's a new perspective. I was never a photographer. I've had a lot of hobbies in my life, some of them quite technical, but I just never went down the photography route. But drones brought me there. I'm learning it now. And I enjoy the vistas that it gives me that I didn't have before. I was talking to somebody yesterday, I think it might have been Centroid Mark, regarding things. Just excuse me for a second. Have a chat amongst yourselves. I've got to attend to a family.
Dennis, there was a guy who was strictly DSLR, and he had done it. I mean, he had to be in his 50s, and he put down his camera. He said, you can't compete anymore. He had a contract, and what he was getting paid was what the normal fees. But nowadays, drones have polluted the system so much that he can't get paid what he was getting paid. He can't live on it.
No, the digital has definitely changed the pricing dramatically on photography, because the overhead isn't the same. You know what I mean? You used to go out on a photo shoot and buy film and processing, and you would be putting out hundreds, if not thousands of dollars of your money in advance for proofs and everything else. Where now all that stuff you don't spend, only thing you spend is your time. So it definitely changed the pricing. I got into digital at the end of the film days, and it was a dramatic amount of money you were able to charge. But then every year, it got in like a 5-year period, it just dropped by like half, to the point where it wasn't worth doing anymore, because anybody can take it, anybody can do it.
Yeah, I get that a bit. You'll turn up on a job and they look at your drone and go, my nephew's got one of those. Why am I paying you? They don't understand what's involved. But look, I don't sound elitist. It's not. I don't get out of bed for under $1,000 job, and $1,000 isn't a lot today. The way I look at it, and I know that a lot of recreational pilots would be shocked at this, is my drone is an expendable. It's a consumable. In my mind, I write it off every time I go out on a job. I only use 32 gig memory cards because I change my memory card as I change my battery every time I put the aircraft in the air, because the footage on the drone is generally worth more to me on a mapping mission than the drone is. So I don't put a 128 gig card and leave all of the day's footage on that card. If I lose my drone at the end of the day, I've lost that. The drone is only the icing on the cake. The big problem for me is I've lost the footage. So with that mind, that business model in place, that my drone is an expendable, and the cost of batteries and how many you've got to have and this sort of thing, unless it's $1,000 job, it's not worth my while to start. I've got to earn $1,000 when I take into account degradation of batteries, depreciation of aircraft, fuel, my insurance. That's $700 a month. I've got to earn $1,000 on a job before I get into the black.
And see, they don't understand that. They're going on Droners.io, which is Precision Hawk, and I love this when they say it should only take 20 minutes. I only need 10 pictures unedited. What you were talking about, Dennis, and the price they want to pay.
Yeah, no, I get it. I have a question that's kind of like off topic, but it's burning me up. I need to know. I plugged my mic in before I started. I don't know if I'm still using the laptop mic, or is this?
That's not what.
laptop.
That's
You're
not
not
working.
using the video mic go.
All right.
If
Go into
you
your
hover
settings
over
and change which mic?
if you hover over the top of your Hangout screen, a little menu will drop down, and there's a gear wheel there. If you click on that, you might be able to select another microphone and get it that way.
I tried that. It didn't let me.
Okay.
It didn't let me because it's plugged in through the headphone jack.
Yep.
So
it should work.
it's only showing. It's only showing my external microphone.
Oh, it's not showing.
It just says a built-in microphone.
Yeah. The video, the Rode video mic is a tip ring sleeve adapter, and therefore it won't work in through your headphone jack without one of these, which is the
I have one of those.
The Rode, I think that's the SM2. It's the TRS to TR out here about $29.
I'm on a Mac, so Mac has a funny on a laptop. So you have to use like a splitter that does the r.p.a.s into two separate lines and plug a headphone into one and the mic into the other. And if you don't plug them into the jack before it plugs into the laptop, then it doesn't. The mic isn't going to work. Like I just unplugged and plugged in again. Maybe now.
I can hear that crumbling.
That's working.
Now it's working. So it should be better audio, but it might not be.
They are
because
good.
the crumpling you would have never heard before.
They're very directional.
Yeah.
As long as you've got it pointing right at you, you're okay. And
the crumpling you would have never heard before if I had the gotcha. That's why when you said you muted me for the crumpling, I was like, maybe my mic's not working because that you would have never heard that.
No, that's right. They're very good. Just going to address some comments there back from the sky. I shouldn't know your name. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, it is human nature to want it for the least that you can get it for, but I think we all acknowledge value for money. Sometimes extreme value is not value. You're paying too little and you don't get what you need. Is it good value if you don't get what you need? And
look at everything you put into this. It's not just the aircraft. Buying the aircraft. Okay, you bought it for $1,500. That's what everybody sees. They don't see the $150 to take the test, the $5 to register. The price of batteries is ridiculous. Your time, your gas, your vehicle, your insurance, all of it counts. And how do you get out of bed for a $40 shot? That's not happening.
That's right, Jim. I'm just going to finish those. He bought a drone because it allows him to feel like he owns an airplane without all the maintenance and expense. You can afford to have that attitude when you're flying as a recreational pilot. I treat mine like they are. Well, according to CASA here in Australia, they are an aircraft, and I treat them like they are. I have a maintenance schedule for all of them on paper, and I replace the props and the consumables at a scheduled period, not when they look like they need replacing. But I have to do that for my insurance purposes. And I've actually said those exact words to a customer. I've had a customer say, "My nephew's got one of those. Why am I paying him?" And I said, "Well, let your nephew do it." And
exactly.
they ended up calling me back. And then they didn't get it at the same price I initially quoted them.
Good.
So that's where it goes.
And that's something that needs, I think anybody who does anything commercial wishes that the rules were actually enforced. So these real estate agents and that stuff wouldn't hire their nephew.
Okay, Carlos, thank you very much. Actually, I don't think I'd heard your name because I'd remember that one.
No, I don't.
He's in New York.
He must know Flight 101.
Yep. Yes, he would.
And novice quads.
Carlos, if you'd like to join us on the panel, put an email address for me in the chat. And once I've got it, you can delete that. And I'll send you out the link via email.
A good old boy from Long Island. Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau, Suffolk are all Long Island counties.
I'm from Asmith, Queens.
There you go.
Originally.
Read that comment by Carlos there, the last one in the chat. That is a damn good answer.
In the aquarium maintenance business, people tell me the guy before them was charging less. I asked them where he is now.
If he's so good and he charges less, why have you called me?
He's out of business.
Yeah, that's it. You were talking about outlay. Well, sitting behind me on the desk is about $20,000 Australian worth of gear. But you were talking about your test. Well, to certify for r.p.a.s out here is about $1,500. Then there's another $500 in my aeronautical radio operator certificate. And then there's the university course I did in remote imaging and photography for mapping, so forth for mapping. So I've got $3,000 or $4,000 and more coming. I'm always upgrading my certifications.
That's another thing nobody takes into account: the cost of software.
Yeah,
For chronometry and modeling, it's ridiculous.
Well, to buy a computer to crunch your own images in Australia, there you go, $7,000. It's not a cheap thing to do commercially, and where it pays off is, I'm not saying I get it right every time. Night trains in the house, hey Mike, I don't get it right every time, but if they get their nephew to do it or they get me to do it, I'm far more likely to come up with a usable product on the first go than the nephew is.
Absolutely. Especially for things like for grammetry and 3D modeling. The nephew can't do that.
You met Lawrence and Herman at a drone meet. I would love to meet them. I really did. Go ahead, Mike.
They're nice guys. Yeah, those guys.
Those guys, they're great guys. I was watching
the New York crew.
Those guys. Yeah.
I like their
watching
pitch
those guys.
on the ones I did on the housing project recently, Bronx. I really did.
They made that look good because if you're from there, like Dennis is from there, we know that that's
It's like
it's not a nice place. You don't want to live, and they made
you don't let your kids out past dark.
Yeah, Carlos, fine, mate. Look, you're welcome anytime. There's a standing invitation there. You just need to be running Google Chrome and have a microphone and preferably a camera. And that'll be it. So anytime, just let me know and I'll be glad to shoot you a link. So, Mike, you're trying to decide which Mavic 2 is for you.
Well, I got about a month to decide. Sometime in July, looking to invest. I'm going to do the Remote Pilot 101 and work on that. And regardless of whether I go commercial or not and get my 107, I'm still looking to get a DJI type drone. I do FPV all the time, and I've always liked the B footage and whatnot. And I got a GPS drone. It's HS100 by Hollystone, and it only does like 500 meters. So it's very limited. It's a brushed motors. So I want something more stable and whatnot, but I want to do it more as a business investment. I've been painting for 18 years or whatever, residential, and it's just taking a toll on the body. And now that I'm 47, I need to start looking at some kind of retirement plan. So
excuse
if
me,
I can supplement, why not?
Well, it's as you get older, high impact employment gets harder, and you're always looking for something. I came out of retirement and did this. I was retired, and my health's pants utterly crap. But I don't lay down. So, and drones, I can manage drones. Carlos has just said he started the hobby on April the 21st, 2018, and he spent $85,000 on various DJI drones and smaller drones, race quads, whoops, etc. My
wife's kicking my butt for $5,000 right now.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that'd be a divorce. Anyway, no, actually,
in 2 years, probably in FPV, I spent like $5,000. We were talking about the other night. I was like, I think I'm up to probably close to about $5,000 that I've spent in building FPV quads and the gear and all the tools and upgrading, a better solder iron, this or that, you add stuff. And All the
I
money
mean-
I spent probably in the last 2 years is about $5,000. Here I'm looking at spending that almost in one drone.
I'm
So
probably
it
going
seems
to
like,
buy an FPV next month. I'm probably going to buy an FPV next month, and I know this is heresy to you died in the wool FPVers, but I've got a number of trades. One of them was as a technician. I spent too long working with a soldering iron to want to build one.
FPV is only an aspect to me.
Well, I'm going to buy one pre-built because it's not fun for me to build my own. I've done it too often as a job. Probably at this stage, I'm going to buy probably a Mob 7 HD, I think, a Tyrannus Q7, and I'm still up in the air about which goggles it's going to be because, as you can probably guess from looking at me, and I'm a big guy, I'm 6'4". I've got a big head. I literally have to custom order my motorcycle helmets and my hats. I cannot ever get one off the shelf.
I tell
What do
you
you
what, the
customize?
Commanders would probably be a good fit for the bigger head. The Commanders are a cheaper grade, but they have the diversity built in. They're a good all-around goggle by Amway. And they're a little bit wider than the Fat Sharks, I found.
I had
People are like, oh, man, I get a lot of light bleedage through them with skinny faces.
I've just put that in. I've made a note. I had Mark Centroid say that I should check out the Viper box goggles. He said that
Yeah, the box goggles, I had a pair of those over here, and they seem pretty good for a box goggle. And they do have the detachable screen, so you can use them as like a ground station kind of deal too. So that's
okay.
nice.
Go ahead, Dennis. You were going to say something there.
You said that you could custom made motorcycle helmets. Where does one get a custom made motorcycle helmet? Because I have like a 4 or 5X head, and I only have one helmet company I could wear at this point.
Yeah, I'm notching up about 70 centimeters, which is a size 8, and
Yeah,
I
me too.
never see anything more than 7 3/8 on the shelf. I've bought my last 4 through Bell, and I've rung up the Australian distributor, and they've had one there within 3 months. Generally speaking, I think what it is that they have the pattern, or maybe perhaps they make a limited amount of them, but they don't get shipped out to the Australian dealers until I get a call for one.
So are we talking about like a 3X? Is it a 3X, a 4X?
They don't size them like that here. They're either sized in the hat size, either the metric or in the inches.
Gotcha.
I cannot depend. It varies a bit from brand to brand, but generally I want 65 centimeters or bigger. That's as a minimum, or 7 7/8 and bigger.
Yeah, me too.
I think
I've
when
been
I was in
using
the Army-
HJC.
I've had a couple of HJCs as my cheaper ones because the bells obviously cost me an arm and a leg.
I think in the Army, I wore a BDU cap of like 6 1/4. I have a very small head.
That is small.
Yes, it's very small. I usually generally shop in like the kids section for hats, like beanies or this or that. I have to shop in the smaller kids sections because my head's small.
That makes sense. Carlos, there was a
My
type.
father said dynamite comes in small packages, though, so I'll go with it.
All right, guys, I'm going to leave you to chat for a minute. I'm just going to go. The wife's got to go out. I need to chat with her. I'm going to be away from the keyboard for a few minutes.
All right, man. So yeah, I'm looking at the DJIs and the Mavics, kind of between the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom. Kind of the 2 Zoom seems kind of good because I can see myself in a lot of residential with real estate where that would be capable of being able to get up a little bit higher, away from the trees and whatnot. Being in Michigan, we've got flat lands and hills, no mountains, this or that, and a lot of pine trees. So I can see where the Zoom would definitely be more capable in some of those situations. So I don't know. I got a month to decide. Lots to think about.
The Zoom might be the right choice in that because
Yeah.
with the Mavic 2 Pro, you're stuck at that fixed f.
Yeah, you're doing a digital zoom versus using the zoom itself and then digitally zooming even more if you need to. So the capabilities of the 2 Zoom would be a lot more with residential, definitely.
Do you know what you can charge around there?
I'm not exactly sure. My boss, actually, his brother used to be part of the business. We do residential painting, and he recently got out of the business and went into commercial real estate. And now he's doing, I seen on his Facebook that he's doing some video type stuff. And I don't know if he's even licensed currently, which is even a
Right.
little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not trying to say anything and give him a heads up before I get mine, because I'd rather take his business than fuck. You know what I'm saying?
That's what you're gonna have
But,
to fight. All those guys who
yeah.
are licensed out there.
I don't know that there's a whole lot of commercial droning going on in the area. I'm in like central Michigan. I know
can
down towards Detroit, Lansing, Grand Rapids, there might be a little bit more. But up here in the boondocks and farm country, I don't know that there's so much going on. So I do know of a few people that do a little bit with like some inspection stuff and this and that. And he's already said if I get my 107, then he might be able to help me out getting some work type stuff. So that's another reason why I'm really pushing towards like actually getting a drone that's capable to be able to do it, and then getting the 107. Because even if I'm not going to get the 107, I'm still going to enjoy the drone capabilities with the FPV as far as B footage or some of the other stuff I can do with it. You know, some of the areas that you can't get that smooth FPV footage. It'd be nice to take footage of too. I'd still like to put on the channel even.
Do a Google search, Gurgle. Do a Google search on your area and see who's advertising.
Yeah, I've done it. I've done it a while back when I started thinking about it and looking at the 107. I've actually done a little bit of studying on the 107. I've been doing the Centroids channel studies and whatnot. I've been doing well. I think I've missed out of all the shows so far, I think I've missed 3 questions. So I've studied pretty well, but that's just kind of a thrown out questionnaire type thing. So I'd like to get the 107 and get a little bit more based onto it, or, you know, the 101 remote pilot, get a little bit more based on it, more knowledgeable, so that because the area here doesn't have that, when I start getting harassed, I'd like to have that backup knowledge, not just be able to pass it. So I'd like to do the remote pilot 101, and
you know
I think I'd get the 107.
read a chart? Do you know how to read a chart? Can you tell longitude and
I can do the basic charts. I was watching. I started out with Tony and Chelsea. I don't know if you know them on YouTube, but I started out with them and doing their channel. They've got a remote pilot type study program or whatever. I started studying with them. That's where most of my knowledge actually came from in the beginning, and then I have learned a lot from listening. Learning the laws and this and that, you learn a lot. The basic.
I'll be right back.
You're going to be on the test. That's basically what it covers is the basic laws with a tricky question, and then a few other questions that are aeronautical type stuff along the way.
It's
plus the weather questions.
Remote Pilot Remote Pilot 101 are a good option. A lot of people have very good things to say about them.
I like it because you pay a one fee. If you pay for the full thing, you get the renewal type thing. So every 2 years when you got to go back and get your 107 here in the USA, you've already paid for it. You go back in, you've got the updated material already there for you. You study it again, make sure you're up to date. You go take the test again. And it's a lifetime membership with them. So
here in Australia, it's a bit different. Your certification as it is for life. However, you are open to be reassessed by CASA at any time, 2 days after you've got your license if they want. And the other issue is you can only upgrade your license if you are considered to be current. And to be current, you either have to have done some sort of upgrade within the last 3 years, or you have to have log-booked commercial time for 50% of the weeks since you were initially certified.
That's a lot of hours.
Yeah. Well, I've got about I've got over 5,000 hours on RC, not on drones, but it counts. But drones, I don't know. I haven't bothered totaling it up.
Everything here is every 2 years. Even medically, I have to recertify every 2 years. And that
Well,
requires
Even DOT and everything, that type of stuff over here in the U.S. It's pretty much everything is like a 2-year standard for recertification for any type of federal certifications or this or that.
well, the way we work with medical, obviously, with my health, which is not good, I would not pass a manned aviation medical anymore. You do have to have a certain standard of fitness, which is roughly the same as you'd have to hold a driver's license, which I can manage. We don't have to do a medical on a regular period, but we do have to be regularly seeing a GP who is required by law to inform them if we start suffering from any ailment that may affect our safety to fly or drive.
But yeah, seizures such as that, this or that. But over here in the States, if you have seizures, you're not allowed to drive a vehicle unless you have been seizure free for 6 months.
Here it's 3 years. You've got to be seizure free. I don't have seizures. The other one that can be a killer is diabetes. If you've got even the slightest hint of diabetic neuropathy, you're out.
Sugar shock will put you into a big convulsion. And
the neuropathy is different.
Yeah, that's what they're worried about is neuropathy, the dying of the nerves in the extremities. You can't feel the controls, even for a driver's license. That's one of the few conditions that is actually specifically mentioned as a disqualifier.
Well, that makes sense.
Is that at DJI there, Thomas O'Sullivan? I see the Ken Heron 18 gives 30% off.
Yeah,
that's a good deal at DJI.
No, it's at Phantom 101.
Oh, 101? For
That's
the remote pilot 101, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, remote pilot
Okay.
101. Sorry, I'm thinking.
That's still a good deal, man. 30% off. I think right now they're going for $150.
And also,
right now
prices
for remote pilot.
Tariffs are going up in the United States against Chinese products.
Yes, China has already announced that they're going to be hiking their duties in retaliation for the American government. So you can expect your DJI products to have a hike of, I don't know, but a significant amount shortly.
Well, it was $100 on the action cam. So take it from there. But that's okay. When we used to have that tariff in the 70s on Nissan, Datsun, all those cars. Then we got rid of it, and now you got all those cars instead of American car companies. So,
well, it's unfortunate, but I think we're heading for a showdown with China in the next 20 years. They're more of a worry for us. They're aggressively expanding into the South China Sea.
They made their own island.
Yeah, well, they've made more than one. They've made about 5, and also that's the South China Sea, predominantly north of the Philippines. But they've spent recently $20 million in Tonga, which is not that far off our eastern seaboard. Yep. And now they've built roads for them and everything else, and now they're setting up a naval base there. So they're getting very pushy with this. And if my attitude is, if we're going to have a showdown with them, then let's get it over sooner rather than later.
They already tried playing with the United States when they were flying through the area. There's already been confrontations with the island they built out of dredging the ocean floor, so off of Vietnamese coast. So it's going to come. It's going to come. We'll have another standoff like we did with Russia for 50 years.
Well, Russia lost the Cold War because they sent themselves broke. They were unable. That's what it was. They were unable to compete financially with the United States. China may fare a little bit better.
Well, yeah.
So we find all these gold treasures that we've got going on right now with these gold seekers on the Discovery Channel. When we find that gold over there in Japan and this and that, there's going to be so many countries fighting over whose gold it is and whose rights it is and this and that. Oh, there's going to be wars breaking out. That's millions and millions of dollars worth of gold they're fighting over.
Countries don't get out of bed for less than billions of dollars anymore. Mike, look, the Discovery Channel's all well and good, but about 10% of it is factually based. I know a lot of these things that they're bringing out, Yamashita's gold and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
I was reading about them 30 years ago, and I know essentially the documentary channels have to produce such a volume of programming every month that they never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Drag it on for years. It's already been discovered and was outed years ago, but they're digging a lost hole now.
I think Marcos got his hands on it, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, I like watching them, but it's just the countries just they fight over so little stuff. That's what I'm saying.
They do. I'm just
even looking at these to go get a pirate ship that's discovered out in the ocean. You have to go through so much bullarchy to even get a permit to go look at it, to disturb the ground that's around it, to find out whether it's the ship that you think it is or not.
Yep.
And then you have to prove it's the ship that you think it is before you can get a real excavation. Yeah,
it is a joke. It's the problem in China is every time the West does something, China gets up in arms and claims that we're insulting their sovereignty or insulting their dignity. But on the other side of the leaf, they push the limit as far as they want with the West, and that's their God-given right. It's almost like having an argument with a member of the LGBTQ or the feminist community. Apparently it's illegal to insult somebody or to hurt somebody's feelings anymore. Well, they hurt my feelings a lot of time, but apparently that's different.
Right. It's an opinion. Whose opinion are we basing it on?
Yeah, Brad, I'm very close to deciding not to continue with my certification anymore anyway, with the latest lot of laws. That would be all that Canberra would have to do is change it so that we have to recertify every 2 years. I'd walk.
Some of the stuff I hear coming out for our certifications and flying and this and that, it's real sketchy too. I mean, even FPV we're getting so limited. Oh, now we got to have like a ground person standing by this and that, and
we have to have that
limitations as to what we can actually do and what's going to be law. And we're going to have to end up hiring a crew to come out just to fly FPV.
Well, if you're playing in the airspace, they're not so afraid of FPV that they are those of us.
Well, FPV falls under a lot of it because of the line of sight type thing. Yeah. And that's where we're getting a lot more restrictions than the other stuff is. FPV line of sight, what's the discrepancy?
And you have
the drone, man. I mean, what's line of sight, this or that. What's
line of sight's pretty well known. It's very well defined. Line of sight's very well defined, both there and here. You guys are being allowed beyond visual line of sight with certain stipulations.
Right.
In our new laws coming out in July, we don't get beyond line of sight, but we get extended visual line of sight, and everyone's up to 80% of the maximum distance quoted by the manufacturer for their link. However, that's with spotters. And the spotters, you can daisy chain your spotters, but the most distant spotter must have the aircraft within visual line of sight. And here's the kicker, though, which most people here in Australia don't realise yet. It's not like it is currently. I can point at my brother and say, you're my designated spotter for the day, and whatever training I've given him is considered correct. Now, under the new regime, a spotter will be he'll fit into one of two classes, and he will have to do a course just like a remote pilot, and that's $1,000 a person. So if I want to fly 3 kilometers away, I'm probably going to need 4 or 5 spotters to cover that distance, and so that's $5,000 worth of training I've got to lay out for.
Like I was saying, you almost have to hire a crew just to go flying.
Yep.
Yeah. The thing with us is we've got some kind of line of sight with the drone as far as
not some kind of line of sight.
It's not necessarily line of sight anymore. It's the visual of the drone. capabilities.
It's telemetry.
98% of the time, our visual capabilities with our drone is actually more capable than the visual line of sight. As
I don't
far
believe that. I don't believe that from
certain
a
things.
No,
So
that makes no sense. If you can't see your drone, you shouldn't be flying it. That's line of sight.
well, I understand that. But as an FPV pilot in certain areas, this or that, behind trees or this or that, some of our drones, as we're flying with the video capabilities, we have more capabilities to see in front of our drone in the direction that our drone is going than a line of sight person might actually have behind trees and this and that.
Well, the
But
problem,
yet our stipulations are more discreet.
the problem I have with that is, I understand FPV very, very well. I started competition gaming, first-person shooters in 1999. I was a national champion for 5 years in a row. I understand first-person view. And when I fly, if I'm flying using a full-size tablet and I'm using the display, I have as good a view as somebody with a pair of goggles. They're just not as convenient.
Right.
Depth perception and the fact that something can come up behind you and not be seen is not as good as in person. Don't get me wrong; it is a useful aid, and in
That's where
certain,
the
as you
spotters
said,
always come in.
if you're down behind, if you're partially obscured behind trees or a building, then look, I actually rang up CASA here and clarified with them on what situations I could use my display and be legal. And as long as the aircraft is within the distance that you would realistically be expected to be able to have visual line of sight, if I need to take my eyes off the aircraft and refer to the display for safety reasons, that is permissible. So I'm not saying that FPV is useless, but it does not take the place of visual line of sight.
No, it never takes the place of. Where I find that they're doing a lot with us is that you have to have visual line of sight. The way that they're trying to do our laws in the USA, visual line of sight is required at all times.
Yep, here as well.
That means you can never FPV unless you have 100% spotter.
That is the same here, but that's why I rang them up, and because they can put one thing in the writing, but how it relates into reality is often
it's all a translation.
And
Their translation that matters the most, though.
okay. Drone Kings. Sorry for a second. Before I lose this in the chat, Drone Kings in Darwin has just said that the trouble with line of sight is, for instance, his air is so small that they lose it 50 meters away. Now that's why they removed hard stipulated distances and just said visual line of sight. They used to use stipulated distances, but for certain aircraft at that distance you could know, because here in Australia, I'm pretty sure it's the same in the US, visual line of sight is defined as being the distance at which you can see and orient the aircraft with the unaided eye, not including corrective lenses. So the way it is with visual
or direction,
the way it is with visual line of sight, that I say to people, if I'm flying my Inspire on a nice sunny day or no, even better, on a slightly overcast day when I've got cloud as the backdrop and no glare, and the Inspire, my line of sight might be 650 meters. If I'm flying the Spark in a snowstorm, the line of sight is 1 meter. It varies, and that does make sense. I have no problem.
Visibility is always a factor when you look at your stipulations to fly to begin with. You have a visibility of ceiling and everything else that you can legally fly to. And I see lots of pilots do that where they're the ceiling is way low, there's overcast and fog, and they're flying up higher than they should be. I see that lots of times, but yes, that is always one of the stipulations when you're talking a legal 107 or commercial flight that you have to watch for. A remote pilot, as far as hobbyists, we have a little bit less stipulation, but we're still supposed to follow the same guidelines. So even visibility is still supposed to be in those guidelines.
Well, that's going away. That will be the guidelines.
Yes. Well, I've done that myself with FPV. I've gone up there. It was real foggy or whatever, and I've gone up into the fog just so you could see what it was like or this or that. I was nowhere near 300 feet even, but the fog was that low and that dense that you couldn't see anything. And it's still, the visibility is by 107 permit. I was illegally flying if you want to go by FAA standard.
Well,
I couldn't see through the fog. It
my
was supposed to be, what, 100 feet under the visibility level? And the fog was so dense. So, yeah.
Who else was in the fog with you? How many other aircraft were in that fog?
Well, nobody else was in that aircraft, in that fog or whatever, but the visibility level of the fog was at a certain level, and I was up into the fog. The visibility level of fog by commercial flight license, you're supposed to have 100 miles or 100 feet of visibility or something like that below the fog level.
3 statute miles, 500 feet below the cloud level.
And 1,500
Or
feet
fog
horizontally.
level, or fog level.
In-
All right,
in-
so-
Fog's level.
unless you've got an instrument rating, which
This was
I'm in the
this
process
the
of doing.
fog here was above the treetops, so we're talking like 200 feet was the fog level. Period.
Then
So
you
There's no availability to fly officially there.
That's right. Here in Australia, unless you've got an instrument rating, which I'm in the process of gearing up for my instrument rating, which sounds crazy, but it will aid me for if I want to ever fly beyond visual line of sight, I'll need an instrument rating, even though it's not manned. But out here, 500 feet below and 1,500 feet horizontally from any cloud or fog bank, unless you have an instrument rating.
Listen, they have to do these rules for safety reasons, not your safety. Nobody cares about you.
Yeah.
It's the
There
people you're
could have
going
been a plane flying through at low level through that fog that I was in, and I wouldn't have known no different. I
That's
wouldn't have
what
seen
I'm
it.
saying. I have no
At
problem.
200 feet, I should have been fine, which is why I went ahead and did it. But at 400 feet, it might have been a little bit different.
Let's face it, guys. The issue with the entire regulatory regime here in the United States, in the UK, in Canada, is there is not one clear-cut set of regulations. The new rules that are coming out here, which, well, they've come out and they're going to come into force on January 1. That's 188 pages, but that's not 188 pages in all. That's 188 pages on top of the existing CASR, which was
That's 188 pages of updates.
But the problem is that the CASR was released in 1996, the current one. Since then, there's been addendums, changes, certain things have been repealed, certain things have been added. The new regime will repeal some of that, will add some of that. And in the end, it leads to such a degree of confusion that even commercial pilots like myself take a long time to get your head around it. And the end result is that people end up breaching the regulations, not through any willful desire to do so, but simply because they can't get their head. Too many variables.
The law.
I'm allowed to do X as long as Y doesn't take place, but then I have to refer to Z to see if ABC aligns with X. Come on, guys. And in the meantime,
you get D, so therefore all of that's null.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I've got to fly my aircraft. Now, I have never willfully breached regulation. There might have been a couple of times when I've looked up and realized I might have been 5 meters above the 121 meter limit, or a little bit too far away. But that's not because I was pushing the envelope. That's because I was concentrating very heavily on other aspects of safety that I had to observe, and I didn't have that level of concentration. And of course, the authorities will say to us, "Oh, well, if you're not capable of taking everything on board, then you shouldn't be." Listen, guys. I'm not the dullest knife in the drawer. For an old guy, I'm pretty damn quick. And I'm not exactly dumb either. If I'm struggling, then even man pilots out there have trouble. If I'm struggling, other people are having it worse.
Personally, Ari, I think that's going to be the hardest part about going 107 is that now I'm under license. Therefore, I am guided by more rules and regulations. I can't use that. I'm just dumb.
Rules are not hard.
Use anymore. I've regulated and registered, so I know certain regulations. Therefore, I can't play the stupid part anymore. So, therefore, you actually have to follow more regulations. you have to be more substantial and more conscientious about things you're doing. So it's going to be a lot more work when I go fly under a 107 than when I had as an FPV pilot.
Mike, what makes me upset is that they make it harder than it has to be.
Yes.
I would like them, each time they have a regulatory change, what I would like to see done is I would like to see them wipe all the statutes and release one new regulation, memorandum of MOS, as they call them here, one from beginning to end, where they've redacted all of the old stuff, put in the new stuff, change what has to be, and they release one single document. I can learn that.
Memorandum
refer to this one, to that one, to this one, to that one.
This and that, and right. Because it becomes more confusing as you update and change things and say, see this, see this, see this. Then you're seeing 6 times along the way, and who's to catch everything.
All right, I'm going to jump off.
Okay, Jim.
James, good to see you, buddy.
Talk to you later.
Take it easy, mate.
There's lots of things I'll have to watch for, and I try to be conscientious and do the right things, not fly over people, groups of people, this or that. I try to involve the people. I'm generally flying FPV, but every once in a while I put up the GPS drone or this or that, and so
yes,
I try to be conscientious anyway. But yeah, there's a lot of things I'm really going to have to be more conscientious and courteous of as things go forward. But it's a good thing. It's only for the hobby, so it just sucks that we have to. It's almost like, okay, I'm going to go fly my GPS drone now, and I'm a 107 pilot, so now I actually have to take the time and work to go fly a drone instead of just throwing a drone out.
Well, that's it. The whole idea behind the 107 is that you're doing it commercially, you're working at it. They expect a higher level. And I don't have a problem with that. I would just like them to make it easier than it is currently by making the laws more clear. Carlos has just said UAVs just came out. Well, they did and they didn't. They've just become mainstream. But people were using drones commercially 15 years ago. So that's a big difference. It's popped up, and take it easy, Jim. And
more employable by a personal pilot, as far as the finances, as far as the capabilities have been able to be, that more personal people have been able to do it. Where before it was so outstretched and so high dollar that if you weren't a company or this or that, you really couldn't get into it. But now the cost has come down so efficient that it's capable to anybody basically get into droning.
Yes, Brad, the drone rules here are confusing, and I'm not going to deny that. I get my head around it, but that is my primary focus. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm a commercial pilot. For hobbyists, they don't have the time to address that. They're working a day job, they're raising a family, and for them, they can't. I do a deep dive every time a new set of regulations is released. I spend a week getting my head around it or more, and then I go back and refresh regularly. Recreational pilots don't have that ability, and we just have that. And yes, Carlos, to a great degree, under the new laws coming in July, radio controlled modelers will be subject to the same laws. However, if they are flying at an MAAA approved airfield that has been certified by CASA, they're given basically what's considered a one-off approval. Some of them are allowed exemptions to the height regulations or things like that. But if they're flying out and around, same rules as us.
You see me?
Don't worry, Brad. I don't understand myself when I'm talking half the time. Just catching up to something on my desktop here. I'll be with you in a moment. Okay. And Thomas is still there. You're being unusually quiet. That's because you haven't got Claude to pick up, isn't it?
What do you want to drink? Mhm. Yeah.
Excuse me, guys. Just dealing with an email that needs to be dealt with. Okay. Now you hear my keyboard clacking away.
I know. I just looked at the screen. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm the only other guy on panel.
Yep.
I'm supposed to
It's
like.
been fairly quiet today.
I'm supposed to.
Val is streaming, and I think Andrew Pisser was streaming, and Claude's ill, and Thomas is frightened of the microphone. So yeah.
I don't know. It rained all day today here, so I flew the tiny whoop around a couple packs and took me a long nap and took the wife and kid out to dinner at Buffalo Wild Wings and called it a day.
Buffalo wings, yes, I've heard of them. They're a new thing out here.
They've got like 15 different flavors of sauce that they coat them with, and each flavor gets hotter and hotter as you go. So you can kind of pick your hotness as you go in, and they're fairly decent price. It's not cheap, but not expensive. You get them on the like wings night, it's best. But we went for burgers and all that kind of thing, so it wasn't too bad. I screwed up the wife's meal, so by the time we left, I think I got like $25 off my meal or something like that. By the time we left,
Oh, that's all right.
it wasn't bad. It was like $50 for three of us to eat tonight.
Yeah,
That's
fast food or eating out is no longer cheap.
No, especially at a regular restaurant. If you want to go to fast food, you can do it for $20, $30, something like that. But if you want to go out to eat,
Oh, not here. We have the
cost
goods and services.
$20 a plate.
We have the GST, the goods and services tax, which sticks 10% over the top of everything, and it applies to a lot of fast foods. Now, if I take myself and three of my kids to McDonald's, that's generally $70 to $80.
Oh,
Yeah, they don't miss you.
yeah. See, over here in the States, it's for me, the wife, and the boy. We go to McDonald's on like a Friday night. It's usually about $20, something like that.
Yeah, I wish. I do wish.
Yeah, it's a lot different cost of living over here too, though. I think your dollar's like twice as much, or I don't know, half as much, something like that. I don't know what it is right now.
So that's all right. So my weekend is now over. It's just after midday, heading on for 1 p.m. on Monday afternoon. And the weekend was good. Not great weather. Didn't fly much. As I said before, taught the two of the daughters to fly, which was fun. I enjoyed that.
Cool.
I have a feeling that Spud in particular, Luna, she's going to be into it more and more. She's regretting it now. Earlier this year, I bought her own Spark. I bought all the kids one, and only one of the children kept it. The others decided that they weren't interested. And I said, well, when they gave it to them, I said I had a chance to buy a job lot, so I gave them one each. And I said, if it's not you, no pressure. You can sell it and use the money, and because they could sell it for what I paid for them, I got them at such a good price. Only one kept it. The other three decided to sell theirs, and Luna, she sold hers and got another guitar. Now she started flying. Sorry?
Guitar's good.
Yeah, guitar's good, but she already had a Gibson, and she just decided she wanted another one. And anyway, she got caught up with the guys who live stream here, and they treat her very nicely. She drops in all the time, so it's rekindled her interest. And then I took her out yesterday and taught her to fly, and I have a feeling she's going to decide she wants a drone after all.
Yeah, I spent about $250 or something like that on a guitar for each of my boys a couple of years ago. I got into it and was playing and this and that. And we had some free lessons going up at the church. So it was cool. And they got into it and they spent maybe 4 months, I think. And they've been in bags collecting dust ever since. But
Yeah, you look.
yeah, I went about 5 months, 6 months more, and might have been collecting dust because he got into drones.
Well, I let my hang on. I need to cough. Muted the microphone so I didn't do it. My kids, I let them play my guitars for a year or so, and prove that they were interested. All of my 4, 3 play, and
Great.
the one that's just taken it up most recently. He has an 18th birthday in August, so I'll probably buy him a decent guitar then. But my daughter, um, Luna, she has a Gibson J15 and a Epiphone F-hole, and my son, he has.
Don't know how spoiled they are. Gibsons and Epiphones.
Well, that's it. And my son, he's got a Cort X500, a Epiphone Les Paul, the most expensive one they make, the Prophecy Plus GX2. That's about 2,000 odd Australian. And I just gave him my 1941 Gibson Super Jumbo 100. That, you know, I joke. He's 15, and I was joking with him that he had a $10,000 guitar collection now.
Oh, figured. I got into guitars a few years ago, and oh no, I got it upside down. Dang it! I had it right the first time. When I got into them, the wife, she's like, "Oh, okay, that's cool," and I wanted to build one, so I bought a kit, and this is probably my most precious one right here.
That's nice.
Just a little r.p.a.s kit. But I had to do all the finish work, and I put all the wood burning into it myself. But and then I kind of got into drones, so it hasn't been played a whole lot. But I got into it, and I bought a couple acoustics, and I was like, oh. And then for the anniversary, she bought me a kit, so I went through and I did all the finish work, and there's like 36 coats of varnish on there, shellac. Actually, hand shellacked each coat, everything else like the olden days, and
Rubbed it back between each coat.
rubbed the pad in and slacked it up. There's like 36 coats of shellac on it, and did all the wood burn. But I've done a couple other play around things, but that's my pride and joy right there. So
I've got about 14 or so in the house, which most of them are probably more than that, about 16. Most of them are mine. At one stage, I passed
I
them on.
can't play like you though, Ari. I've heard you play a couple of times, and I can't play like that. I got a few chords, and I got into it and didn't spend a lot of time.
It all comes with time, mate. I've been playing a lot of years, and for the years I've been playing, I'm nothing special. But mind you, I don't play enough. And I've had a few incidents that have slowed me down. The hand reconstruction was supposed to finish me, but I'm playing again. I'm down to 4 instruments that I consider mine. I've got a Gibson Les Paul, which has probably been out of the case 10 times since I bought it in 2007.
Right.
I've got a Fender Strat, an American one, but I never play them. I'm an acoustic guy. I'm down to 2 acoustics, which is this one here, which is that's a Maton. It's an Australian model. That's about $3,000 worth. That's my knockaround. And in the case over there behind me, the one that the family all bought me when I was dying, when they said that I was terminally ill, and that's a Martin. It's what's called an Aura DC GT. They only made about 330 of them, and it would probably bring here in Australia now about 10,000. And I had it out of the case the other day and restrung it and played it again, and then told the family I was putting it away for another year. I got a few quiet words in my ear about that. Takaminis, I've owned Takaminis, Carlos. voice like a horny angel and an action like a bloody truck. Didn't I? The last one I bought stayed with me a week, and I sold it on to another musician I know.
Yeah, my Jasmine, for some reason, it's got a real low action. Most of the people that play it love it. I mean, first grab on it, they just love it. I don't know if it's the Jasmine series that was that low or
I
something that
think
was
it varies
done to
from
the guitar
individual
before
guitar
I
to
got to it. I got it used from a guy that was he's like on Facebook. He's like, hey, I got a garage full of stuff and I'm gonna put a bunch of stuff out. First come, first serve. He says, I got a guitar and I got a gun case and this and that. And the wife had seen it on Facebook and she went stalking his driveway. And when he put it out, it was a Takamine Jasmine with a case. And I picked it up for free. And it's probably, I got an Ibanez on the wall. I got a Takamine Jasmine now. I've had some Fender acoustics and this and that. And out of all of them, I think the Takamine Jasmine, just the action on it is low, but it's soft enough. It just has that nice, soft acoustic sound to it. I just love the Jasmine.
Yeah, they differ widely from instrument to instrument as well as from make to make and model to model.
Everyone's different.
Brad says that I should send him one of those drones behind me so I've got room on my table for my guitars. Nice try. Nice try.
He's
Yeah,
got
look,
storage.
one
14
thing,
guitars. You don't see them all.
one thing about guitars, they're the same as drones. Some are good, more are better. Too many, that's just right.
Yeah, I was up to about 8 of them, I think. And then I got into drones, and now I'm down to, I got 5, I think, total.
I don't think I'll drop below the current number that I have until I die, of course. As the kids know, they won't get much out of me cash, but they'll get a good guitar collection.
Yeah, my boys are looking. They're waiting. I gave one of the boys wanted to get into guitar a little bit. So for her birthday, I gave him one of my electrics. It was an Ibanez electric, that just a basic, you know. And I gave it to him, and I don't know if he ever played or anything. I haven't heard anything from him. I don't think he ever even bought an amp. I got a acoustic amp and an electric amp here for what I've got, and they're just small, 14 and 15 amp type things or whatever, nothing big. And just enough for me to play for myself and enjoy, and that's all I care.
I don't perform anymore. I don't perform anymore. I used to. It's harder for me now that I've lost a lung. My singing voice is nowhere near as good as it used to be.
That's all I got's my singing voice.
I can still sing, but I've got to sit very still, and I've got to work very, very hard on my breathing. My diaphragm is partially paralyzed. So you'll notice often, even then it happened, I trail off quite strongly at the end of my breaths, and I breathe at unregulated times. And playing for people, that means I don't get to play what I want to play. I got to play what they want they want to hear, which is not my fun.
I enjoy playing for myself and doing what I like to do. I don't like to. I played for the church quite a while, and that's kind of where I got my start learning chords and this and that. I played with the church, and like I said, some of the lessons we were doing were with the church or whatever. There was a guy there that was real well with guitars and whatnot, and gave us basic lessons for free as a donation or this or that through the church. So we kind of started that way, and I got into it a little bit, and then got into like the worship band and started playing chords for the electric and this and that. A couple of times I played the acoustic as like the secondary acoustic or whatever, but other than chords, I'm not all that good, but it's enough to play some songs and enjoy. And it sounds good. Even strumming around with some chords and playing around with chord rhythms and stuff.
Sometimes it's my primary style. I like to fingerstyle. That's what I do mostly, although my nails are dying back, which makes it hard. Fingerstyle, and I rarely ever play lead. It's just not my fun because I play solo a lot of time. No call for it. They call me. My friends call me Guitar George. I know all the chords. and, and that's it. It keeps me happy, but uh, I don't think that I would ever go back to performing, even if I could. I enjoy. I still teach up at the KIMS, which is a Children's and Youth Mental Health Service. I volunteer for them,
That's awesome.
and that I like teaching. And of course, I got 3 of the kids here.
That's beyond the guitar, though. That's for the kids.
Like,
that becomes just a tool to be able to get to the kids for you.
look, I like kids. I've been a teacher's aide, and I used to volunteer at my own kids' school. I used to teach remedial math and English to the primary school children, and I enjoyed that. I do like kids for sure. Often they're much more genuine than adults, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any these days to say you like kids. You're caught in trouble these days.
Well, I mean the remedial part or whatever, though. To be able to do something for kids that can't normally reach
Yep.
out for other things, there's a certain outreach and a certain connection with that gives you that inner feeling
Oh
that
yeah,
you
for
can't
sure.
get anywhere else. So guitars is just a way to be able to for you to enjoy that reach.
Yeah, it is now. Well, I started playing when I was 6.
Mm-hmm.
And but in later life, it definitely is. I enjoy it as a medium to work with the kids. What you realise as you get older is that life is ephemeral. You're not taking anything with you. The only thing sure in life is that no one
The only
gets out
thing
of
you can do is
life.
give back.
That's it. Well, that's it. You leave behind a legacy after you go, which is why I jumped on with Claude to help Emma, the narrow boat girl,
Right.
because it's something that you can feel good that you look at what they achieve and you live vicariously through them, as they say. You can go, well, I helped that.
Right.
I enjoy it. But I don't know. I don't plan on cashing in my chips anytime soon. So hopefully I'll have a bit longer to work with them in future. And I'm enjoying flying drones. That's something new in my life, relatively new anyway.
It's nice for that type of thing, though, because it's not a monetary thing that you get back from it. It's more of a sense of wellness or, a feeling of giving to something that normally couldn't, a monetary thing couldn't give to that.
Agreed. I don't.
You get back from giving to them and teaching them, and the look that they give you back, knowing that you're not doing it for that money or anything else. I mean, you're just doing it
Yes.
for the love.
I'm just laughing. I just saw a comment by Thomas O'Sullivan I didn't see that says now her dad has to buy her another drone. I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
I'll show you something, but don't tell him.
She has an Inspire, I heard.
Oh,
I heard she has a new Inspire.
if she wants to.
Yeah.
If you can see that close enough, if
Trying
you look,
to say that.
if you look close enough on that, you can see that still has the plastic wrapping on it. It has never been
Oh,
unsealed,
jeez.
and that's the controller bundle. It has a controller in there, so if she keeps her interest up in flying, she might be all right.
Yeah, she just needs to work on that attitude.
That's
And,
that's my backup.
whatever I get, not what I want.
Yeah,
That attitude.
I'll let her fly the Inspire, but I just need it.
Well, I
You-
understand. It's a
Brad,
tool. You can't just have it.
Brad reckons
Boy,
that
you can fly any drone I got, but you're not keeping them.
I'll give her one around. Brad says that if she doesn't want it, he'll pick it up in July 2020. That's when he comes back to Brisbane here. But by then, Brad, the Spark 2 will be out. You'll want one of them.
Yeah. By then you'll have the Mavic 3 Pro and
Uh,
5 and
theoretically speaking, the Mavic 2 has going on their usual turnover rate. The Mavic 2 has another year in production.
yeah. I don't know if DJI will up their game. They're talking that maybe in July something with the Spark 2 is
Spark
that.
2, July 2nd
I
is the
think
date
so.
that I've heard.
Because it's a personal drone and it fits more capabilities for everybody, so they need to concentrate on that market. I understand that. And they're not looking to publish too many at one time. So I think the Phantom 5 or anything, they're definitely looking at the Phantom type outlook. I think.
I don't think we'll see a
They
Phantom.
go with the Matrice, and the Matrice is too big for the mid range. So I think they're going to come out with some type of Phantom type product, but I'm not sure exactly what.
I
And I
don't think
don't know when.
I don't think they have anything on the board for, as far.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. It's hard with DJI to tell, but
Well,
you
this
can
is
use
what
the
what
speculation
I've heard.
around. But
What I've heard is this, and I haven't bothered ringing any of my contacts as I used to do because DJI lies to everybody in their own deals.
I mean, it's
But the
speculation.
allegedly the Inspire 2 version 2 is coming up later on in the year,
That'd be
and
good.
we will see the Spark 2 allegedly on July 2nd. And I have been told that there are already pre-production units out with certain reviewers being assessed. So that one seems to be fairly locked in. The Phantom, there is nothing, I believe, nothing in pre-production yet. I just don't think that they're going to let the name die. It's worth too many dollars for them. I don't see them bringing it out. I don't see it hitting the market before the end of this year because the Mavic 2 is selling for them so well.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll bring anything out that's going to cannibalize from the sales of it until it's getting near the end of its production life.
right. Yeah, like I said, I've heard nothing about the Phantom or anything, but I can't see them dropping the Phantom line altogether. It's that mid-range type deal as far as their drone market. They've got the small with the Mavic, and the Spark is close, and then they've got the Matrice for the long range and big stuff. So that Phantom market for them is definitely a market that they need to capitalize on. So I don't see them getting rid of that. But
No, I'm
it's hard to
just
say
talking.
when.
Thomas has made a comment there. No, I don't think you should hold off, Thomas. I'll tell you for why. I don't have anything against the Spark and the Mavic Air, which that's the area that the new Spark is going to go in. Now, I hadn't heard what Claude had heard, that there's going to be it's going to have its own smart controller and it will actually be above the Air in the market. That's not what I heard.
I don't think it'll be its own. I think they'll make it the smart controller they've already got is capable of it.
Yes, I think so. But anyway, look, I could be wrong. I haven't, as I said, I haven't checked with that. But anyway, even regardless, I have heard that it's not going to have OcuSync. It's going to have an improved Wi-Fi.
Yes.
But that is the limiting factor for me. I don't mind about the size. I don't mind about the lessest flight time. But although I don't fly more than 500 meters away from me because of the line of sight rules, I like to have something with a stronger signal connection as possible. You saw my live stream here the other day with the Mavic Air. Now, there are people out there who've gotten a couple of miles out of them. I was 200 meters away and I was losing connection because of Wi-Fi interference. That's the problem with Wi-Fi. It's always going to be limited. If you already owned a couple of drones and you said,
it takes a
should I get a Spark?
security doorway to interfere with your Wi-Fi connection. The security doors are big for that type of
Oh,
thing.
there's lots of things. They work on X-band. But if you had a few drones, Thomas, and you were saying to me, should I hold off and get a Spark 2? I'd say yes. But as it's your only drone, no, I don't think the Spark 2 will fill the bill for every situation. Whereas the Mavic 2 series, well, their camera is good enough, either of them, depending on what you want. You heard about me talking about it before. Their range is sterling. There is no DJI with a better range than a Mavic 2. The form factor is great. And the price is, well, it's not cheap, but it's achievable. So, no, if you're only going to own one drone, get a Mavic 2.
But form factor wise, I don't see anything in the next 6 months that's going to beat what's already out there as far as capabilities. There might be something matched and some more versatile with the capabilities that are out there, but I don't think there's any new technology that they're going to advance or really include in any drone that's out there. So for what's out there, you might as well get what's there and wait until everything else has been tested and product, quality control and everything else before you get curious about really, unless you're keeping up with the market. Like he said, unless you got a bunch of drones that you're just keeping up with the market, if you're looking into a new drone that you want something that's out there, what's out there right now has been product tested and everything else and the capabilities. There's more information on it. Everything. I mean, there's just overall, it's way better than anything that's going to come out in the next 6 months, I think.
Yeah, Thomas has a Phantom 3 standard. Look, they're a good old girl. I think they're a 2.7K camera from memory. I'd still buy a Mavic 2, probably a Zoom in your case. I tell you what I love about my Zoom, and I don't care what, I'm not going to mention the name, what certain people say about the video quality of the Zoom if you don't shoot in 4K. I disagree. Maybe if you are an extremely proficient artiste in videography, maybe you can notice a difference. For me, it's a case of the emperor is nude, man. I look at the HD footage and the 2.7K footage, and it's totally acceptable for me. So
you also got to look at the aspect
sorry,
that 95% of the people that are viewing your footage via YouTube or wherever they're viewing are not viewing it in 4K or 2.7. At best, they're viewing in 1080.
And they don't see the noise. If there's a little bit of noise sometimes, but that doesn't, just because you've got a little bit of granulation here and there doesn't mean it's a bad video. Most people are quite happy with that. So I love, lately, it was Eden Valley Drones UK who, through his droning, who made me reevaluate. And now when I fly my Zoom, as often as not, because I'm flying for content creation, access, I fly in 1080 and I use the 4x zoom, and that is utterly tremendous. I really, I'm going to put some more drone footage up of the Wivenhoe Dam this week, and I do some zooming in that, and what it's capable of is utterly great, really great. So, you know, if I was in your case, remembering that I am a Phantom fanboy, I would probably buy a Mavic 2 Zoom, and then later on in the year, sell off or I'd sell the Phantom 3 as soon as you can to get some money for it, and later on in the year get a second-hand Phantom 4 Professional. That's me. If I had a Phantom 4 Professional, if I was only a recreational pilot, if you said to me I could keep 2 drones here and I had to sell everything else, I would keep a Phantom 4 Professional and a Mavic Zoom. The Zoom's great, mate, but if you're flying it in, the Zoom, right? If you can get it for 1,150 euro, it's dropped 100 euros. Buy a Zoom. Honestly, yes.
The Zoom right now in US is like $1,250 or something like that.
Well, it's $2,000 even here.
Yeah.
And I love my Zoom. Look, don't get me wrong. The Mavic 2 Professional has beautiful, vibrant, colorful pictures, especially in video too. If you're just taking it straight off the card, great. But
I watch Mike's videos all the time, and sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the Zoom and the regular until he actually zooms in.
You can tell the difference.
Hey man, watch this.
You can tell the difference in
the dynamic features, I think, are still just as good in the full out. The zoom in, they might not be as good, but when you're zooming, you're dropping your pixel ratios, and there's lots of things that you're changing. So as far as the overall, but still, even in the zoom ratio, the dynamic range is still at a full 1080, 30 frame per second at full zoom.
Yep.
So you're still getting the full capabilities of anything that a DJI or a GoPro session, or unless you're using the Hero 5 or better, you're not going to get any better quality.
No.
Really.
Well, Brad just made the comment, learn to color grade. I'll be more general than that. Yeah. Just learn to post. Brad is really, really good with his post work. I'm not. All right, straight out. I'm first person. My commercial work up to now has consisted of take the footage and hand the SD card to the customer. Okay, because it's all commercial. It's all for business. I'm not doing for real estate or for TV or anything like that. I've learned the basics of editing to put up my YouTube videos, And I've realized that various clips vary from clip to clip in the color density and the vibrancy. So I haven't got my head around color grading yet. That's the next thing. And it's going to take me a while, but I'm going to. And if you've got a Phantom 4 Professional and you can color grade, you can do anything that you can do with a Mavic 2 Professional. Yeah, if you can color grade, I cannot color grade colors yet. When I go into, I've got the full Adobe suite, and also I've got DaVinci Resolve. When I go in them, it overwhelms me a bit. Too many options currently. And you know, Brad, I've got those clips uploaded in my Dropbox. I'll have to get you a link. So I just remembered that. See, I've got too many things on. But Thomas, look, for me, the only time that the Mavic, if you look at Mikey's video, really, the only time that the Mavic 2, the Mavic 2 Zoom starts to fall behind the Professional in my mind is in low light when he's flying. You know, it's almost dark, or it is dark. Well, I don't fly in the dark. I don't know about you, mate, but they take a very dim view of that out here, and I don't fly in the dark, so I don't need a Professional. I'm happy with the zoom, and if I need the 20 megapixel, then I fly my Phantom 4 Professional. Forgot about the DB. That's got me. And we're getting down towards the tail end, guys. I'm probably going to shut it shortly. I've been going for a while yet. Dropbox, yeah. I've got it up there. I uploaded it and then never generated the link, mate, like an idiot. I will do that later on today. I've got to go out and take care of a couple of things. But all is good. So that's it, Brad. You know, you've got a hard job that you can listen in on the side all the time.
Like back and forth the Zoom and shit.
No, that's the time I've been streaming live, allegedly, but that seems to be out for me a bit. I don't know. I might have hit the start button too quickly. You've been putting away 10 euro a week for a while now. You should get around 2K loan pretty easy. Well, if you can, no, that's not the time, mate. It can't be right for streaming either. And, I don't know what's happened there. Hang on, I'll bring up Snaz. That's what does the timer. And what did I do? I don't know what it. Oh, I started it in at 1 hour and 30 as well. So yeah, you can add another hour to that. I've been going 3 hours and 7 actually. Not a problem, my friend. Yeah, look, it's getting on your time. You're like me. You're up to all hours of the morning.
How can I do that?
Yeah, 3 hours and 7. I got the timer wrong. Never mind.
I could get close enough.
Anyway, I can hear Mike talking to the family in the background. Look, Thomas, I reckon you should go down to that to the credit union and hit them up. That's what they're there for. That's what you're paying them your money for. And 2000, if they're selling a Mavic 2 Zoom for 1150, you can buy either. Obviously, I suppose that'd make the Pro about 1350. You can buy either, but a Zoom for 1150, that leaves you. But by all means, buy yourself the Fly More pack, because you're going to want those batteries, or buy extra batteries and get a hard case, and it leaves you a bit left over for bits and pieces, and you'll love it. One thing about the Mavic, just everything that they do, whichever one of the Mavic 2s, everything they do very well. They have the best precision landing I've seen on return to home, auto return to home. They have a great OcuSync link, and all around a great aircraft. Very quiet too, very quiet. Probably my Mavic 2 Zoom would be the quietest aircraft I own, and the noisiest would be a toss-up between the Inspire and the Mavic Air.
So overall,
yeah, that's it for a case, and I recommend a hard case. I buy one, as you can see, for every one of my drones gets a hard case. They add about $100 to a lot more for the Inspire, but on an average about $100 per case per aircraft. And that's cheap insurance. The first time you knock one about in the car, you're glad you've got that case.
As far as INX and this and that, just limited on the video.
Okay, I'm just going to check how many we've got watching.
Video.
Oh, no, I'm not. Oh, you say, I was going to say because I've closed it, but no, I haven't. See, there's 4 watching, so it's just the 2 of us and Mike and I. So I'm going to call it. Car battery charger. Yeah, you still need your portable charger for your drone and all that sort of jazz. Not a problem, Tom. You know, I love to chat with you guys. You're always welcome. And one of these days you'll drop in, I know. You'll get there. It'll happen. All right, Mike, I'm going to call it at this point. We're down to the four of us, and I want to get out and do a few things. So thanks very much for joining us, and Tom, and you too. And I'll be back again on in 3 days, Thursday my time. So you take it easy. And mind you, that's not a good time slot for the US, but the UK and Aussie, they're fine.
If I'm available, I'll stop in.
Cheers, guys.